Tampa Bay Bucks Super Bowl 55 champ Shaq Barrett coming at you live for NSPN Next Gen Sports. Go like and follow NSPN for total coverage of all team and combat sports, live shows, plus exclusive player interviews and unprecedented sports content creation.
Aren't you loving life in Tampa Bay? Nothing like being defending Super Bowl champs, Stanley Cup champions, American League champions. This is Outkick. Join me every Sunday morning at 10. Let's talk our teams in the hottest sports market in the country. Never too early to talk Buccaneers or check in on all the teams in Tampa Bay. It will be your best hour of sports. The Outkick Show, powered by Guerrilla Marketing. Sunday mornings at 10 on 102.5 The Bone. Sports media has evolved. Introducing NSPN Next Gen Sports, your number one source for all team and combat sports. Live shows, breaking news, esports tournaments, and interactive sports content like never before. Like and follow NSPN on our Facebook page for your chance at this month's fan giveaway contest. And tune in every Sunday at noon for exclusive video access to my Outkick Show interview. NSPN Next Gen Sports. Outkick here. I have to tell you about my amazing pampered experience at Daniela LaCorey Styling Studio. First of all, I love what she did with my hair, but it's the entire experience that truly sets her apart. You walk in and chances are she's playing your favorite music because she has to. She pours you your favorite adult beverage because she has to. It's gone from haircut to a truly relaxing time only at Daniela LaCorey Styling Studio. Haircuts, men and women, full spa treatments, hair color. Get it all with Daniela. Check her out on Instagram at Daniela LaCorey or book her on the Booksy app at ladybarberdaniela.booksy.com. Tell her Outkick sent you and get $10 off your first service, plus neck and shoulder massage. Daniela LaCorey Styling Studio. Outkick here from my friends at Family Lawn, Pest, Handyman, and Housekeeping. I'm all about saving money and saving time, especially when it comes to maintaining my home. These people are 4-in-1. One provider for my lawn, pest, handyman, and housekeeping. I don't have to call 4 different companies, receive 4 different estimates, have 4 different strangers come into my home and write 4 different checks. I simply call Roger and Paula at Family Lawn and Pest. Sign up for a year and leave the honeydews to them. Get a free estimate. Call 813-526-8111. That's 813-526-8111. Tell them Outkick sent you and get $250 off your first year or 20% off your first month. It's Family Lawn and Pest and so much more. Medical marijuana made easy. See if you pre-qualify for your Florida medical marijuana card free of charge, 100% risk, obligation, and judgment-free with Fast Track Cannabis Clinics of America. You're talking Tampa Bay's #1 choice for compassionate care with business professionals. Discreetly begin your road to relief by dialing 813-358-CARD or visit www.mycannabiscard.com. That's 813-358-2273. And make sure to tell them that Outkick sent you for $30 off new patient enrollment. Ask about military and senior discounts. Fast Track Cannabis Clinics of America. With uncertainty at an all-time high, securing what matters most has never been more important for your home or your office. Prevent disaster and make life easier. Try a security and home automation system from Alarm Engineers, Inc., Tampa's trusted leader for more than 30 years. State-of-the-art security systems, award-winning monitoring, and now full-spectrum smart home solutions. Alarm Engineers, Inc. has everything your home and office could possibly need and will work with any budget. Book a free security or smart home consultation today. Call 813-948-4000. That's 813-948-4000. And get your first month free by telling them Al Keck sent you. Alarm Engineers, Inc.
Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television here on a Friday night. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. And how do we start off the evolution of Sports Talk Television? Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have ABC Action News' Denis Phillips on. Busy situation with the weather already causing havoc. Not in our area, of course. That would be New Orleans. We'll talk about this preseason game, about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers and fantasy football with Denis. And then at 10 o'clock, we will have J.C. Allen of the Pewter Report. Of course, we're only 13 days away from Bucks versus the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. But before we get to that, we got a major announcement here. Just waiting for Mr. Eric White to get on the line here. And once he does, we got a big surprise for you, all you guys out there watching this show. So as I said, Bucks versus Texans tomorrow night. We'll be covering it. We got a location picked out. You're going to love it. You're going to absolutely love it. So let me go ahead and read these comments. There he is right there playing around. Let's go ahead and get on out to him. Mr. Eric White. Welcome to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. And what's this big announcement that we have here on the Sports Web on NSPN and, of course, I Love St. Pete?
What's going on, Peter, man? Can you hear me pretty clear or what?
I can hear you just fine. Where are we
Awesome,
going? Where are we going from here on out? What do you got up there? You know what? Let's go ahead and play this commercial and show the people where we're going here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Here we go.
Welcome to the Double. 3-day block party in Ducky's parking lot. The best watching experience in Tampa Bay. 26-foot screen to watch the big game. 2 30-foot tents with 2 10-foot screens each. Full liquor and food service outside with 4 bars and 4 beer stations, plus a beer trailer. VIP area inside Ducky's. Bud Light promo team will be on site. Event runs Friday night, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. Celebrity and athlete appearances all weekend long. Portion of proceeds to benefit the Mike Allstott Family Foundation and the Children's Cancer Center. Drink wiser and be safe. $5 lift promo code available. For tickets and more information, go to GorillaGurus.com. For table reservations, call Ducky's at 813-254-6160. Presented by TampaPrinter.com.
There you go. It's Ducky's Sports Bar. And buddy, get out there in the Tampa Bay area on West Kennedy Avenue, 1719 West Kennedy Boulevard in Tampa. Of course, Ducky's Bar.
Ready for this?
It's just unbelievable, man. Really is. Great
Let's go, man. So we got 3 announcements here. I think you pretty much spoiled one. So the first announcement is going to be the launch of the official NSPN special event, watch party, and broadcast team. We're going to be doing watch parties all across the city, state, and ultimately country. We're going to continue to scale. We've got about 7 different restaurants right now, sports bars on the hook. We're going to be helping these restaurants. This all started, right, to help small business, help small business that was affected by COVID by giving back. And there is no other industry that has been affected more than the food and drink industry. Their razors are already their margins are already razor thin. So when you do something like this, when you're able to add a unique experience, you help these restaurants separate themselves from the competition. You bring a unique element to the environment there. You create an experience that truly makes these customers feel like they're on a set of NFL Network, College Game Day, or ESPN, and that's what this is about. So the second announcement is we got Duckies, MFer. All right, Evan Longoria's Sports Bar. This is Evan Longoria's Sports Bar. All right, right there in the heart of Tampa on Kennedy. Go ahead and repeat that address for me, Peter. What was it?
Yes, it's 1719 West Kennedy Boulevard.
And it's going down. Our first one is tomorrow. This is going to be the for the preseason game, obviously. Bucks Texans. The pregame show is going to start at, what do you think, 7:30? Peter?
Actually, I'm going 6:30, buddy. We're
6:30.
We're going 6:30.
Right, 6:30.
Yeah.
6:30. We'll be ready to rock, and then we're going to do we'll be there doing color commentary throughout the game. We're also going to be doing a pre-half and a post-game report on the AV system throughout the whole restaurant. We're going to be doing promos. We're going to be giving away 2 Bucks jerseys and a $75 Visa gift card. Also, Ducky's going to have some other promo stuff to give away. There's going to be a bunch of food and drink specials going down. There's a bowling alley. There's an arcade. There's basketball courts. Amazing waitresses. I think there's, 3 bars? Okay. Mm-hmm. It doesn't get any better than this. This is where it's at. Ducky's tomorrow. It's going down. We'll be going live at 6:30. Not just Peter Blake of the Sports Web. Blake Anthony, Sports Talk 49. Jamal J. Buck Sanders from the 525 plan. The NSPN Next Gen Sports Media Bucks beat writer, Allison Kohler. She's going to be there. Friends and family, we're all going to be there. Bring your friends. Bring your kids. It's a family affair, man. What are we, about 7 months into this thing? It feels fucking good. Let me tell you what. Evan Longoria's restaurant, Ducky's, tomorrow, 6:30. It's going down. You better be there or you'll be square. The third announcement. NSPN, Next Gen Sports Media, signs an exclusive 3-year TV streaming deal. Roku TV, Apple TV, Fire Stick TV. In development, Champa Bay TV, coming to your home, available globally before the season hits. Look out for that. Look out for the mobile app. Doubt us if you want. Second guess us if you want. We're not going anywhere.
No, we're definitely not going anywhere. And also added to that team, you'll have the Tampa Bay Lightning insider, around the NFL correspondent, Mr. Travis Faley, and of course, the power man himself.
Yeah, baby. Yeah.
Mr. Jason Power. So you got Blake and Blake Sports, you got the 525 plan, you got Sports Talk 49, you got Allison Kohler, and I hear there's a rumor that the 40-year legend, 40 years of sports broadcasting experience, may also make an appearance. And you know who we're talking about. Mr. Alkek, of course, has his own show on 102.5 The Bone. Is that correct?
That's right, Peter. We started this out. So, the beauty of this is NSPN is a subsidiary of our marketing company. So we have a full spectrum digital marketing company, Guerrilla Marketing. Okay. And so its subsidiary is NSPN. And so if you want to do anything in media to pay the bills, you got to have some marketing, right? So instead of doing it the opposite way, we did it the reverse way. We built a marketing company and then we got into sports. And now, guess what? We got a full bullpen of clients that we do work for, and we pitch them sports marketing. And that allows us the ability to be able to go and finance us to do these types of things. So when it comes to a deal like this, you got to be able to give a client like this some return on their investment. And that's exactly what we do at Guerrilla Marketing and NSPN. And so Guerrilla Marketing brokered the deal with 102.5 The Bone and is the sponsor of the Alkek Show. 10 to 11, 102.5 The Bone, Alkek's the host. And Al is actually going to be producing the show. We'll produce the show from 10 to 11 during the season at Ducky's. And during, obviously, 10 to 11, when he's done, you, Blake, and everybody else that joins in is going to take over. So Ducky's is going to be the base op throughout the season. That's just the beginning. I won't even name the rest. It's just the beginning. I'll let you bring Denis on.
Yes, it's just the tip of the iceberg. Eric White there, the founder of NSPN. Thanks a lot for your time. And Like I said, buddy, the future is bright, right?
Hey, it's bright, but you know what? It's not about being a founder. I couldn't have done this without Ron Mosley. I couldn't have done this without Blake Anthony. I couldn't have done this without Jamal J. Buck Sanders, Deshaun Tisdale, Peter Blake, Allison Kohler, Jordan Ratcliffe, who's going to be out there taking photos for us, Joe Mestis, who's going to be at USF taking photos, Al Keck, Mike Deason. The list goes on and on. We're 30 plus deep, less than 7 months. Fuck with us if you want. Doubt us if you want. We're not going anywhere, man. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow at Ducky's, 6:30 p.m. It's going down. Be there, be square.
All right, there you go. Eric White, thanks a lot for tuning in, and thanks a lot for coming on the evolution of sports talk television, the sports web. So there you go. Ducky Sports Bar, 1719 West Kennedy Boulevard. We'll start off that show at 6:30. Once again, yours truly, Blake Anthony, J-Buck, Jamal, the 525 plan, Travis Faley, Jason Powers, possibly Leo Haggerty, Allison Kohler. We got you covered all over the place. Trust me. Trust me. If you think last year was something, just wait till you get a load of us this year. All right, let's go out to the comments here. Read these comments. Tribal Troll in the web. Do 3 things for me. I'll do 3 things for you. How about that? Hey, Peter, just under 2 weeks until kickoff. Absolutely. 13 days. Are we ready to go? Are we ready to see these number 1 starters against the Texans, who have had all kinds of problems in this offseason with their quarterback, with the distractions, having a new quarterback, not sure if you're going to have your quarterback play this year, all kinds of losses, J.J. Watt in the offseason. I mean, this right here is a perfect opportunity for a blowout. I'm just going to say it. Let's go out to Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend, SC. Preseason, that's taught me a lot. It showed me out second team ain't worth a crap and should find a new profession. Once again, preseason is what? It's an evaluation process. You evaluate your depth. But tomorrow night, I definitely think you're going to see a lot of those first starters. So let's go out to Christopher Cole. While the Saints are going to be rusty when they face the Packers. Of course, that is the other big-time story. Their preseason game has been canceled because of a hurricane that could be approaching New Orleans. So as much as we as Bucs fans don't necessarily like Saints fans, you're in our prayers tonight because that hurricane could be a Category 4. We get more with Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. Hurricane Ida, not a great situation. And of course, they've been in the news today because former Tampa Bay Buccaneer first-round pick Jameis Winston is your new starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. So there you go, Bucs fans. You got something to talk about tonight. You're absolutely right. Good stuff, Christopher. Awesome sauce. Absolutely. Give you the woo right there. Woo! Yes, I love it. David says, how long do you think our starters will be in there tomorrow? I think they're going to be in there most likely the entire half. And then who knows, depending on how they play in this game, because you want to get off to a good start. And of course, you don't play until what? 12 days before? So you want to make sure you get your first team as many reps as possible, right? Because you haven't seen them. What, you seen Tom Brady for 6 plays? I mean, that's not going to get it done. You got to get these guys ready. I get it. It's Tom Brady. It's the first team offense with all kinds of excitement. Hopefully, O.J. Howard plays better than he did last week. I think he will. You're going to see Gronkowski and Antonio Brown and Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. And the victim of volume and a Ronald Jones and, of course, the Leonard Fournette. So we'll see how this all turns out. I'm excited about it. I'm excited about the announcement. You know, one of my main goals with joining this platform was to get to Tampa. I love where we were, but I feel like the heart and the soul, even being on I Love St. Pete. Love St. Pete, don't get me wrong. But wanted to get to the heart and soul of the city. Perfect. Love it. So there you go. Christopher Cole, let's go out to him. David Moser, about a half. I mean, you guys are answering your own questions. Let's go. I'm not going to say it. Almost did. You almost caught me there, Misador. Almost caught me. We're waiting for Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. Carla Marzuko. I always wanted to say that. Read the rest of these comments, and then we'll get out to Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News. Is Dennis wearing the same hoodie again? He may be Al Bushman. And you know what? That's what we love about that guy, because not only is he one of the hardest working meteorologists in the Bay Area, but he's also a great sports broadcaster here on the Sports Web. So I don't care what he wears. Hello. Absolutely. Al Bushman says Brady will be out for the coin toss, and that's it. Disagree. What's up, Peter? Saying hello from the deck. Looking forward to seeing the starters tomorrow. I'm excited to see Jameis throw some passes to the old team. I like it. I'm going to go ahead and fire those cannons. I think that's what a lot of people anticipate with this announcement today of Jameis Winston being the starting quarterback of the Saints. Throwing some pick six. How ironic. Wouldn't it be ironic? Isn't it ironic? What Alanis Morissette say that in the mid-90s? Don't you think? If Jameis Winston throws some interceptions on Halloween, trick or treat, I'd like to see it. All right, let's go out to Sandra Nagel here. Listen to the best sports talk show in the Tampa Bay area, the Sports Web with NSPN. And I love St. Pete. Congratulations on Duckies. Only got the best here. L. Bushman goes, Peter, audio isn't matching up. I don't know what's going on your end. So we'll see what's going on. But let's go out to Mr. Dennis Phillips of ABC Action News, who's already changed his outfit for L. Bushman here.
Please.
What are you having?
Hey, Al, get a life, all right? Yeah, are you Mr. Blackwell or something?
Yeah.
Oh, Mr. Blackwell is best dressed list. You know what? I proudly wear my roll number 7. Now, granted, I have 11 of these sweatshirts, so there's that, but that's another story.
Well, I tell you right now, and there's a reason why you have that hoodie on, the rule number 7, and go ahead and explain to the people out there. But by the way, before we do that, let's go ahead and wish you a happy birthday. Happy birthday, buddy. How was your birthday yesterday?
Thank you. It was great. My son's birthday is today. My son, who lives in New Orleans, who's a doctor. So I've been talking to him all day today for his 28th birthday. He has a major hurricane coming his way in a couple of days. And yeah, the rule number 7, it started back in 2012 when the other ice storm. Seems like there's something about ice storms. Isaac, Ivan, Irene, Ida, and of course Irma, right? So I mean, we've had some big ice storms, and Ida is the one that's gonna, unfortunately, I think it's gonna wreak havoc on the northern Gulf Coast on Sunday. And rule number 7 is don't freak out unless I'm freaking out. We're fine, and it's usually because these storms are gonna miss us here in the Bay Area, which they typically do more often than not. But it's also, as I've been telling him, it's kind of the thing like, look, now's not the time to freak out. You got to focus on what you have to get done, what decisions you need to make, because they're decisions that impact the livelihood of you and your family. So you don't freak out when the stress is everything's hitting the fan. You got to rise to the occasion and be ready to do what you need to do. And that's what they're going to be doing in Louisiana, because it's going to get really, really bad for them on Sunday. I think this is going to be a Katrina-like storm, which is some pretty bold words. The difference is it may not necessarily hit New Orleans directly. In fact, the track right now is about 80 miles west of New Orleans. So if that's the case, areas like Baton Rouge and Lafayette could see 120, 130 mile an hour winds. So it is going to be a really nasty situation for the folks in New Orleans. So that's where rule number 7 stems from.
There you go, Dennis, and it's already affected the Saints. They've canceled their preseason game, of course. They're about to get out of there, train in Dallas, where they're going to go so they can, take shelter or whatever else, have evacuations, because this is a Cat 4. You said it was Katrina. It's concerned about the cone. The cone right now, the projection says this, but that's why so many people have to basically watch that situation, because at any time, at any moment, that track could definitely change, right?
Yeah, and that kind of uncertainty, what that means is that actually fan is an area where the eye could actually pass. It really doesn't have anything to do with how far out the winds go. The winds go out a lot farther than that. But that cone of uncertainty is pretty much right around to New Orleans, all the way back toward on the other side, maybe Lake Charles. So it's most of Louisiana. But if you think about it, I mean, our human nature is to want to look in the middle because that's kind of what we think. It's going to be right down the middle. And if that's the case, it's more towards the Lafayette area. And if right now, if that track verifies, New Orleans gets 65, 75 mile an hour winds gusting to 90, and they have a surge of, maybe 6 to 10 feet. But they've got that levee improvement that's been going on in the city ever since Katrina. So their hope is that they won't have to do what they did with Katrina, which, if you remember, was use the Superdome as a rescue spot for weeks and weeks after that storm hit for folks who had no place else to go.
Yeah, and absolutely put not only did they have to evacuate there, but the Saints for those couple years had to play in other places. I believe it was San Antonio at the time. With all that being said, the big news, and I know this is not a Saints show, but it does concern the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to a certain degree. How surprised were you by that announcement today that Jameis Winston is going to be the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints in 2021?
I mean, based on how he did on Monday night, him and Marquise Callaway, by the way, which a lot of folks have probably looked at him all of a sudden on their fantasy team from an 11th round guy to who knows how high he's going to go, especially with Michael Thomas being hurt. Now, I still think at the end of the day, the Saints are in disarray, and I still think they are not a 500 team. I think they end up with 8 wins. But, Jameis is, at some point, maybe he turns the corner and learns to throw the ball more to his team than the other team. But, boy, they looked awfully good, again, against Jacksonville. So you take it with a grain of salt, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, what's the fantasy value? Because I know you're a fantasy football guy here. Jameis Winston, is that a guy that you take a chance on simply because of the history of Sean Payton working with quarterbacks, working his magic, if you will? A Teddy Bridgewater being undefeated, 9 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, which basically earns him another chance with Carolina, a big-time contract, and now he's the starting quarterback with Denver. So in your opinion, what's Winston's fantasy football value?
Depends what kind of a league you're in. If you're in a league that has a lot of deficits for interceptions, then maybe not so much. I'm in several, and one of them, it's 6 points for a passing touchdown, but it's -4 points for an interception. So all of a sudden, it's kind of a wash. Maybe you don't like a guy like Winston. And by the way, if you happen to watch that game, the first touchdown they threw to Callaway should have been picked. And if it had been a regular NFL game, it would have been picked. So he threw into double, and you can maybe even argue triple coverage for that touchdown. And yet Callaway came up with the grab. And then his second touchdown was just a stellar one-handed grab anyway. So, Jameis be Jameis. I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it works, but I certainly won't be drafting him. I mean, if it's a league where you don't get penalized for interceptions, then why not? Because they're probably going to be playing from behind. And if that's the case, then maybe he's going to get some points anyway. But with interceptions mixed in there, I wouldn't touch him.
All right. What is the, if you will, the cone of uncertainty with drafting an Alvin Kamara? I mean, what's the impact? No Michael Thomas. You got Jameis Winston. Is there more or is there less value in a Kamara?
Kamara is an interesting guy because I think if Taysom Hill had been the quarterback, I think it's far less value because Taysom Hill is not the least bit shy of vulturing touchdowns. You get that ball inside the 5, maybe he doesn't pitch it to Kamara, maybe he doesn't hand off, maybe he takes it himself. He did it a lot. And if you notice last year in the first half of the season before Breeze came back, Kamara's numbers were down. He was not, he's rarely would you think him to be a touchdown dependent back, but he was having a real tough time. With Jameis, you would think he's going to throw the ball more. He's not going to run it as often as Taysom Hill does. So, but yet at the same time, do you think they're going to give Jameis the ball the entire time? Or are they going to work a lot of packages in where Taysom comes in as well? So to me, that is one of the toughest decisions in all of fantasy this year is how much is Jameis really going to play? Are they going to mix wins? Are they going to mix Hill in a lot more, or at least some to decrease the value a little bit? And again, with Kamara, I think the same thing. If you locked in Jameis for the whole year, I think Kamara is as good as he ever is. I think with Hill in there, I think that hits his value a little bit.
All right, there you go. We're on with Denis Phillips of ABC Action News, talking fantasy football, of course. Let me go out to these comments here. Let's go out to Connecting Caregivers Radio. Love this. Love you, Linda. Thank you very much for tuning in. Troy Polamayu asked Dennis, what's the deal with this crappy summer weather? I mean, I always tell people when I'm on the phone, Florida is like my kitchen on a Saturday night. Everything burns. Is it going to get any cooler at this point?
Yeah, in December. Yeah. We're totally good by December. Until then, it's Florida, right? I mean, how many Halloweens have we gone out, bringing our kids out trick-or-treating, and we're just drenched in sweat because it's so hot. Happens all the time. It really doesn't happen usually until end of November, December, when we start saying, you know what, we should have a cold front. So we got a ways to go, I'm afraid to say. We got a lot more hurricane season to deal with before we got to talk about cold fronts.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the hurricane season, do you think it could pick up simply because it is so unseasonably hot and the humidity is so high? So when these storms do get out into these waters, they're hot. So, of course, they're going to build up like Ida is, right?
Yeah, water temperature has a lot to do with it. I mean, especially like you said with Ida. I mean, it's running into some of the hottest water on Earth right now in the Caribbean. Now that it's over Cuba and passing over Cuba, the Gulf is still really warm. So, yeah, the warmer the water, the stronger the storm. For us, though, luckily, our tropical picture looks pretty good for the next couple of weeks. There may be a few things out in the Atlantic, but none of them are threatening Florida. So that's good.
Yeah, that's absolutely good. All right, more questions here, more comments. Let's go out to Steve Pritchard, of course, a part of the NSPN family. Hurricane Elena was my favorite, of course, that being in 1985. Remember that storm, Dennis?
Yeah, I was working in Gainesville at the time, and that storm literally anchored itself off of about 90 miles off of Cedar Key, northwest of Tampa. It sat there for 3 days. And it wasn't that it was that strong of a storm. It just kept beating up the coastal areas. As a matter of fact, Cedar Key lost their boardwalk because of it. It just continued to weaken and, a lot of beach erosion. So it wasn't that it was that strong of a storm, but any hurricane that sits out there for 3 days is going to do damage.
Absolutely. And I remember watching Dick Fletcher at the time on WTSP Channel 10, which consequently I got a chance to intern with. And that's another guy who was a weather forecaster that loves sports, especially Nebraska Cornhusker football. Love the talk.
You interned with Fletch?
I did intern with them. I got an opportunity to intern. We had a situation where there was somewhat of it was more than likely like a tropical storm weak hurricane. I think it was Charlie at the time, Hurricane Charlie, which wasn't really weak. It did cause some damage, but at the time I had to intern. And of course I had to go out and get food and get a chance to talk to Fletch. And I was there, man, because not only would he talk to you about weather and you would learn something, but also he wanted to talk sports. He didn't always want to talk weather. He was great.
I got a story about Fletch. So it's a funny story. So kind of a frail guy, kind of a small guy. You wouldn't really think he was particularly athletic. I knew people who I knew said he was a really good tennis player, but we were playing a charity baseball game. I played baseball my first 2 years in college. Well, I was a walk-on. I didn't play. I sat the bench a lot, but I prided myself for not being a terrible baseball player, and we had this charity fast pitch softball game. And he was there, and I'm looking at him like, no way, there's no way he's going to be able to. Not only did he step up to the plate with a cigarette in his mouth, he literally walked up with the cigarettes in his lips, and he took the first pitch, fast pitch, and lined a double to the gap in right center, and just like kind of strolled in and just kept puffing away the entire time. And I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. I mean, the guy was an athlete. He really was. But I've never in my life have I seen somebody going up to home plate while smoking a cigarette, and he kept it in the entire time while running the bases.
That's kind of like, yeah, that's kind of like Len Dawson, the former quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, smoking the cigarette on the bench. You would never, ever mistaken Tom Brady for ever doing that. It's just amazing how everything has basically changed at this point. Let's go out to Alfie. Pewter and Dennis Phillips, absolutely awesomeness. Thank you very much. Steve says, Dennis, is the European tracker the best?
For the longest time it was. Okay, so let's say you look at the last 10 years. Absolutely, yes. You look at the last 20 years, no doubt. The last year and a half, it had a hiccup. It has not been doing nearly as well. And believe it or not, the USA model, the GFS, has probably been the most accurate model. Now, we spent the US spent a ton of money on upgrades to try to get it better. And I think the GFS has improved, but the Euro, it's in a slump, man. It's in a slump. And I don't know if it needs a slump buster or something else to get out of it. But right now, the Euro has not been the model that it has been in previous years. And the GFS, although I will tell you with Ida, the GFS and the Euro are both almost identical in bringing the storm about 80 miles west of New Orleans, around, south of Lafayette. Our group, Scripps, who owns our station, has a station in Lafayette. Mm-hmm. And I even told my boss earlier today, I said, man, it's not good. They're going to see 120, 130 mile an hour winds out of this storm on Sunday.
And really what the concerning point, I know we're talking weather and sports here, and that's okay. We got Denis Phillips on the ABC Action News. I'm going to try not to be an idiot about this. But before the storm, the main concern is, of course, the tornadoes. And that's what people really don't consider. It's the tornadic activity, if you will, that accompanies it before the storm hits, right?
Say tornadic activity again. That was impressive.
Tornadic activity.
That's good. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, northeast quadrant of a hurricane, you get tornadoes. And so in other words, if a storm's moving north, the top right quadrant, the northeast quadrant, is where you get most of your spin. And very often you see a stream of tornadoes that can develop. They're usually pretty small, EF0s. They're not like the ones up north in the plains where they get EF4, EF5s, but they get lots of them. So not only do you get a surge of 10 to 15 feet with this one, not only do you get sustained winds of anywhere from 100 to 140 miles an hour if it verifies, and I think it will, but then you throw in 10 to 15 inches of rain and the possibility of tornadoes. I mean, this is New Orleans has really revamped their levee system after Katrina, and this is going to be about as big of a test as they've ever had because there is going to be a ton of water that's coming this way. And to add insult to injury, I don't know if you know the reputation, but Jim Cantore, who's a guy who's been there for the longest time, he always has a reputation wherever they send him is where the storm ends up going, which, by the way, the last year or two, that just has not been the case. But that's the thing that they still pitch. And I just heard that he's going to be in New Orleans tomorrow. So add that to the folks in New Orleans, add insult to injury. Now they got Cantore coming too.
Yeah, when he comes here, he comes with his big arms. He's ready to go. Like he's ready to do his thing. All right, we're on with Denis Phillips. Let's go out to Natasha here. Hi, Peter. What's going on? How you doing? Let me go ahead and fire those cannons for you. Steve says they should give away free beignets for
beignets
for Winston's interceptions. Laugh my ass off. Natasha says you look good sitting in the seat. Thank you very much. Let's go out to Kyle Nicole. You got to think Taysom is going to be in the mix a lot, especially with as big as his contract is. I mean, really, that does make them a little bit more dangerous. Taysom doesn't necessarily have to be the starting quarterback. I don't think he's a quarterback in this league, but what I think he is a Swiss Army knife where you can put him in certain packages where the defense basically, has to account for him, right?
Yeah, and I think last year was desperate times called for desperate measures. They didn't think Jameis was ready, and they gave Taysom the ball because you're right. I think they think he can do everything. And he's kind of done everything. He's kind of like Ben Zobrist was with the Rays. I mean, he played pretty much every position out there, and that's what Taysom Hill was. So I also agree with the I was going to say the caller with the the messenger. What do you even call it these days when someone's message?
I call these the web heads. That's what I call them.
Okay. All right. Well, when the web head said, they're paying him a lot of money. They're right. They are paying him a lot of money. So do you think they're just going to pay him a lot of money to sit on the bench? I don't think so. I think he's going to be real active. But as you said, maybe, doing some option, maybe playing out on the end. I mean, who knows? Maybe doing the jet sweeps. I mean, they're gonna need some stuff because their receiving core is a mess. Thomas may not even play this year. Callaway is obviously looked great in the preseason. There are other receivers, Smith. I mean, I don't know. They've got one of the weaker receiving cores in the NFL, so they're going to have to find a way to get somebody to the ball outside of Kamara. And imagine if he gets hurt, which he's been pretty durable. But imagine if that happens, then it's an absolute train wreck.
For the problem for me, talking about Jameis Winston, and I've been a defender for Winston for a long time, but you hear these talking heads on ESPN, and I get it. They get paid money to push people's buttons and, basically get clicks. But they said, well, this is on the coaching and the system. Okay, well, that's true. Then how come Tom Brady didn't have a problem with it? In fact, he had one of his career years, 40 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. I don't see how they can, make that point and really have a straight face while doing it.
Well, you're talking about Brady this last year, right?
Right, yeah. In the Bruce system, because the whole criticism has basically been that BA's system didn't work for Winston, yet when Brady got here, he cut down on his interceptions. He was able to get this system and still throw the ball down the field. So what I don't understand is when a sports broadcaster says, well, that system didn't work for Winston. No, I think it's more on the fact of the player didn't, necessarily make the right decisions in this system, because we've seen even with this system, a quarterback can cut down on his turnovers.
Yeah, but you're also last year throwing the ball to Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Antonio Brown.
Fair.
I mean, The receiving core is just so exceptional, and is again this year that I think that had to help too, probably a lot.
Sure. No, I agree with that. It's not like Winston didn't have those weapons. Again, he put up 5,000 yards, had 33 touchdowns, but the problem is, of course, the 30 interceptions. Can he cut down on that? Natasha says bench warmer. Okay. Todd Grassley says fans of both of you guys love this. Thank you very much. Let me go ahead and give you a woo right there from Ric Flair. Peter, this is your boss. I'm going to give you a raise. You've been a good boy. Well, I was good this week. I've been good the last month at my sales job. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for trolling me. Praying for New Orleans. Let's go out. Rays pick up another win, keeping the train rolling, having a pretty great season. We're going to get to the Bucs, I promise you. But talk about this Tampa Bay Rays team. I got an opportunity, Dennis, to see them up close and personal when I went to the White Sox game last Friday. A great game. Although the White Sox win that game, they take 2 out of 3. You just can't say much more about this Rays team. It's been unbelievable. With all the injuries, they continue to just win.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has injuries, but to me, what's impressive is they're winning with players that most of the baseball world still doesn't know anything about.
Yeah.
I mean, probably one of the only players that people even know is Kevin Kiermaier, and he's really barely hitting 200, 215, whatever it was. I had a little bit of pop the last couple of weeks, but I mean, they've just and their pitching, has been good and solid, but the names that they won with last year, the Mortons and the Snells and the Glasnows, they're gone.
Yeah.
And they're still finding a way to win these games. And it's the craziest thing, because you kept waiting for there to be some sort of a regression back where it was going to catch up with them. Like, there's no way they're going to keep winning, especially, like I said, losing Morton, losing Snell, and now losing Glasnow for this year and probably half of next year too. They keep finding a way. I mean, G-Man has been amazing at first. He's coming up with some clutch hits all the time. Our Rosarena obviously has been a great find. Although I think at some point you got to give credit to the Rays management, that not even necessarily Kevin Cash, and I'm not going to bash Kevin Cash at all, but I think their front office has just found a way to get the players. They seem to know when to get a player on the way up, as opposed to a lot of other teams that pay big money for free agents. After Nelson Cruz they've been trying to get Nelson Cruz for years, by the way. They've always wanted Nelson Cruz on the team, but they just seem to have the right combination of getting a player as they're getting their way up. And then, once that they do, they can't afford to keep them, and they do it again. It's unbelievable. And it's really unbelievable that team keeps finding a way to win. I don't see how the Yankees are the hottest team in baseball right now. I've never liked the Yankees my entire life, just because I grew up an Orioles fan. So I didn't like them then when they stole Mike Mussina from me back when I was a kid as a free agent. And to this day, being a Rays fan, obviously since day one, I don't know how they're doing it, but it's just a great thing to watch. They're just fun to watch.
They're fun to watch, but in the grand scheme of things, do you think they are a serious World Series contender? I mean, I kind of ruled them out, and I hate to do that. Again, I love the Rays, don't necessarily like the ownership, but I'm not going to get into that. But in your opinion, do they have a serious opportunity here to be a World Series contender, in your opinion?
I mean, they were 2 games away from the win of the World Series last year. So now, but is it the same team? No, they lost Snell. They lost Morton. What concerns me is their pitching staff. But yet I've been saying that for the last month, and they're still winning. So I don't know what to say. I mean, my head tells me, looking at the talent, looking at the pitching staff, that they don't have what they need in the playoffs, which is usually strong pitching. They've got plenty of D, and their hitting has been unbelievably strong. I mean, guys like Wendell, and guys who you just don't really know. No one knows anything about, and yet they're strong hitters. The answer to your question is, my head tells me they just don't have enough talent to compete, but you'd be foolhardy to say that, because they're finding a way to win. The White Sox, one of the other best teams in the American League, and they took 2 out of 3, and they should have swept them. They blew that other game. So why not? Why not? Especially in a year when Tampa seems to be winning everything else. Why not?
Why not? Exactly. All right, let's go out to Mr. Eric White here. Tomorrow night, Ducky Sports Lounge. That was the big announcement. Dennis, you're right down the street. You have to get out to Ducky sometime. We'll be out there tomorrow night and on Sundays. So I invite you to get on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television and NSPN show when we're doing the pre-half and post-game editions. If you want to come out, I mean, Ducky's great place, owned by former Ray.
Longo.
There you go, Evan Longoria, just saying.
Yeah.
All right, Tom.
Well, I mean, I've been several times. Matter of fact, when the Rays got rid of Longo, that's when I dumped my season tickets. I had season tickets from day one, and I know why they do it. It's the same thing. It's the whole 2% with the Rays. I mean, they have to do what they do. But back then, I was so bitter. I mean, my dog is named Longo. I mean, it's just, that's how much I love that guy. And it was the right move. I'm not going to even argue. I mean, he went to San Francisco and has been lukewarm at best. Then again, they didn't get anything for him either, but they didn't care about getting anything for him because what did they want to do? They wanted to dump salary because that's what the Rays have done. And that's your ownership. And that's another story, like you said. I mean, we could have that discussion a lot of different ways.
Oh, yeah, we could do that. Let's go out to Todd Grasley. You both need dugout mugs on your desk, too. All right, we'll work on that, Todd. Definitely. I don't know who this guy is, but we love the fire. Okay, well, I love you trolling me. I don't know who this guy is, but he seems like, and then let's see. Let's go out to Steve here. Rays are on fire. Can't wait for Glass now to come back. No. And then Steve goes, just my opinion, until they move them to Tampa, they won't have the money to compete for the World Series. Love my Rays, though. Good stuff. Let's talk about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. To me, I'm excited because even though it is the last preseason game, more than likely, well, there's no more than likely about it. Likely you're going to get a chance to see finally the starters. In your opinion, how long do you think they're going to play Tom Brady and crew?
First half.
Okay.
I think they play the first half. And Arians seems like he's been pretty solid about that. You know, he said they weren't going to play any starters in the second game, and it just sounded like, you know, they're going to get him into it. And I think that's probably solid. I mean, I get it. Look at what happened with Jacksonville, losing ETN. I mean, you hate to hear about a team losing a guy in preseason, but at the other side of the coin, if they're not ready for the regular season, then they come in and they might be even more likely to get injured on the first game of the regular season because they didn't really have a very good preseason where they got ready for everything. I mean, there's arguments both ways. I get it. Belichick had his guys going against the Eagles last week, and they just wiped the floor up and down with them, like 35-0, I think it was. So it depends what the motive is. But to me, I think they'll play one half, and then they'll see how the second half goes, and they'll be ready for the Cowboys the following week.
What are you looking forward to seeing besides the obvious Tom Brady throws some passes in this game? Is there any play like a O.J. Howard? O.J. Howard had a rough week. I get it. He was not necessarily playing against number one starters, but a 5-year tight end shouldn't be dropping easy passes. Do you think he comes out, establishes himself? I mean, I know you're going to play Gronk. Is that a player you're looking forward to, or is there somebody else you have your eye on in that first half?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just think, what do they really have to work on? I mean, in terms of they've got all the talent there. You wonder if they're just coasting to go into the regular season, and it is such a long season. I mean, I know Brady's talking about wanting to go undefeated and everything, but at the end of the day, to me, I still think preseason is most of the time it's just to figure out who's going to make those final couple of roster spots. And so you talked about O.J. Howard. That one shocks me. My predictions on him have been the worst ever because I kept thinking that he would eventually turn it around. The guy had so much talent out of Alabama. I mean, big guy. I mean, had great hands in college, and the only good catch that I remember him having the entire last 2 years was at the Rays game when he caught a foul ball a couple years ago. I mean, it's just I don't know. That one befuddles me. I really thought he was going to be a big part of the offense, and with Brady coming last year, I thought he would too. But injuries have been a big Achilles heel for him as well. Yeah,
and he's coming off that your ruptured Achilles, of course. So, some people are saying he looks tentative, he looks scared, and of course he's going to be, but he's also going to be just a little bit rusty in that game type of situation. So I want to see him. I want to see who is going to come out in that running back situation. I still think it's Ronald Jones, but it may surprise you. It may be Leonard Fournette. Who knows? At the end of the day, like you said, anybody that tries to draft one of these Bucs running backs is going to go crazy because they're going to continue to give the ball to the hot hand, and it may not necessarily always be the starter that you think it's going to be.
And it'll be Gio in third down in a passing situation.
Right.
That's what he did with James White. He's done that for his career. And, I would not draft Gio in a fantasy league because I think we like to spend a lot of time thinking who the diamond in the rough is, who might be that extra player. But at the end of the day, you're probably not going to get enough touches. But I would be willing to bet he's on the field almost every single third down, and he's going to have a really nice year in that role. So then you're all of a sudden only down to 2 downs, whether it's Fournette or Rojo. And I agree with you. I think it's going to be Rojo first. But I still think at the end of the day, like Arians did all last year, the hot hand is going to take it.
Yeah, and we're on with Denis Phillips of ABC Action News. I like to see that defense. Of course, they don't have anything to prove. But looking and watching Joe Tryon come in, I mean, he has been a man among boys, picking up his first sack last week. One of the only positives, if you will, to take out of that Tennessee throttling, which, by the way, I took my uncle to his first football game, was a preseason game. We were right behind that pirate ship and thought that pirate ship was going to fire all night long. It didn't happen that way. But Joe Tryon, talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many question marks coming out of college because he missed a year with COVID. I mean, with I don't think he had COVID, but obviously decided not to play. And so there were all these questions, but everybody always talked about his physical size, his skills, and whatnot. So I think a lot of people hoped for the best, but it's probably why the Bucs got him. I mean, but at the end of the day, you're right. He's been great, but it's still been preseason.
Sure.
So I still look forward to see how it really comes, because I don't know the answer to this. I'm just throwing it out here. Do you really think that all the first team starters are really, really playing at the level that they're going to be playing in the regular season, even when they're starting in a preseason game?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I think we'll find out real quick how productive he's going to be. And my guess is maybe he'll take a step back or two because it's a learning process, and I'm sure he'll be just fine. But do I expect it to be where he's going to come in and knock everybody's socks off and be the superstar? I don't think so. I'm not saying he won't be an all-pro at some point, but I still think there's going to be a learning curve. There usually is. Rarely do you see people step right in and perform at that kind of level.
All right, let's go out to this question from Steve. Who do y'all think is the best overall wide receiver for the Bucs? I mean, everything. Look, it's easy to say Mike Evans, right? But Chris Godwin, when he's healthy, and that's a big-time key. He was hurt last year, but we saw him. That guy can turn it on at any time. To me, the biggest X factor of this offense, and I'm looking forward to seeing him tomorrow night, because I think, look, you may double up on a Mike Evans, you may double up on a Chris Godwin, and I get it, it's vanilla defense, but you're still going to play on those guys. And Antonio Brown could have a breakout year this year. All the stuff that you hear him, being back to, Pittsburgh Steeler type of situation 4 or 5 years ago. He's healthy. He knows the offense. In your opinion, who is the best wide receiver on this team, Denis?
I think it breaks down to how you define best wide receiver. I think you're 100% right. I think AB has a really, really big year for all the reasons that you said, including, the fact that he's getting in fights in practice scrimmages. I mean, he's, and that's a good thing.
Right.
It's a good thing to me, because it means that he cares and he really wants to compete. And I agree with you 100%. I think a lot of folks may think, well, he's losing a step. He's getting up there a little bit. I think in his mind, he has a lot to prove. Maybe he thinks if he has a big season, he can get another contract out of it. I think AB has a huge year. Evans might be more physically talented than Chris Godwin, but I'm biased. I'm a Penn State grad, so I'm probably going to lean toward Chris Godwin most of the time. But come on, the three of those guys, and throwing Scotty Miller and Tyler Johnson, I don't know. I mean, that's such a deep receiving. It's going to be fun to watch. I mean, to answer your question, I think AB has the biggest surprise year. I can't call it a breakout because he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but I do think that to me, Godwin is the comeback player, because last year he had an off year being with his injuries, and I think he comes back really strong. And it also depends how they use him too,
Yeah, no, it's all about usage at that point. How are you going to use them? But again, being comfortable in that offense, not having to learn it, because it can be a complicated system to learn. Again, we're on with Denis Phillips of ABC Action News. Jalen Darden, to me, he flashes a lot of ability, but I think it's a big night for him. I still think he makes the team, but I still think he has to show something, not only at the wide receiving position, but also on special teams, because actually he could knock out a Jaden Mickens if he performs well tomorrow night, right?
That's what I was thinking. I've always thought special teams just because of his quickness, and the Bucs have never really been stellar in special teams when it comes to punt returns or kick returns, and that's an opportunity for him. I mean, to get a spot, because that's probably what his hope is. Look, I want to get a spot on the team, and then see where it goes from there. Maybe he retires or goes someplace else after next year. So I think he's probably looking down the road. I seriously doubt that he's going to get a lot of play as receiver, but Tyler Johnson and Scotty Miller both had some opportunities, because eventually you got to figure either Evans, Godwin, or Brown are going to be out for a time or two. It's a long season, so maybe an opportunity at that point to step in. But I agree with you 100%. I think he makes the team, and to start with, I think it's mostly special teams, but maybe a special play every now and again to throw him in there might keep defenses honest.
You're absolutely right. Let's go out to BA. He had some comments this week. I don't give a crap if they're vaccinated. Basically what he had to say, and this would be BA to Jenna Lane of ESPN. There's league rules, and then there's my rules. We ain't going anywhere. We're same as last year. I don't give a crap if they're vaccinated or not. They ain't going anywhere. How do you feel about this situation? I mean, this is the kind of sacrifice this team made, and BA was right last year. This team had to be COVID, because you saw around the league a Baltimore, a Tennessee. And by the way, Baltimore still having problems with their quarterback, Tennessee having their problems this week. So honestly, you have to go about it whether you're vaccinated or not in order to survive the grind, if you will. You can't go out in places you don't know, even if you are vaccinated. How do you feel about BA's stance on this?
I mean, I'm old school. I'm an old school guy. And when you have a coach who, I think he's obviously motivated to repeat, and, you get your older coaches and they're kind of more hardcore and they have their rules. It's my way or the highway kind of thing. And then you've got younger guys who try to be relate more to the players and try to be their friends more. Sometimes both of those work. But for BA, it's clearly he's more of a hardcore kind of guy. And I think the players respect him for that. I'm not so sure they're happy about it, but I think when they're done playing and look back, they probably think, well, maybe that wasn't really a bad decision to keep us in here, because look what could have happened, like you said, to Tennessee. I didn't hear anything else about Lamar. What happened with Lamar this week?
Well, I mean, he's already had COVID, and he's been a guy that's, spoke out about not getting the vaccination. Of course, Cam Newton, we don't know what's the deal with him, but he's gone on the COVID protocol, so that may open the door for a Mac Jones. Of course, we heard about Kirk Cousins. In your opinion, do you feel like this is still going to be an ongoing problem with players not getting vaccinated? And I get it. Even if you are vaccinated, you could still get it. But the likelihood of it is more so if you're unvaccinated. Definitely the NFL is going to crack down on it. And this happened this week with the player from the Buffalo Bills. I believe his name is Isaiah Andrews, who didn't wear a mask in the facility, hasn't been vaccinated, and has been fined $14,000. So in your opinion, is this going to be an ongoing problem in this season to where the NFL, and they don't necessarily want to do this, but they may have to put off some games because there's going to be an outbreak because somebody's not unvaccinated?
I don't know. I don't. Last year, I would think if there were games that were going to be canceled, it would have been last year. I mean, they were pretty close on a couple, obviously bumping them back. To me, I don't know about you personally, and the last thing I want to do is talk about COVID.
Sure.
But I know so many more people personally now with this new variant that have this than people who had it the first go around. And a lot of friends of mine are nurses, local, and they said the hospitals are way more slammed right now with the Delta variant than they ever were with the Alpha variant last year. So to me, it's out there more now. Just me personally, what I've seen and the people that I know, that's out there now more than it was before. It doesn't mean it's as bad, whatever. But the point is, if you test positive, you test positive. And so, yeah, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of times where players are going to test positive. Now, the difference is before there was a 14-day waiting period, maybe now there's a 5-day waiting period. But yeah, based on the fact that I know so many people who have either had it recently and had to quarantine for 5 days, my son, my 8th grade son, we just got a letter from his school saying that he was exposed in school like 5 days ago, and he didn't get it. Didn't have any symptoms or anything. But the point is, it's still out there, and I'm sure the NFL will have the same deal that if you're exposed, even if and my son's vaccinated, if you're exposed, you still have to quarantine for 5 days. So, and again, it's they're a private company. It's their rules. It's their game. They can do what they want to. And the NFL is all about this. So darn well, they're going to do everything they can to protect this. And if that means they're going to have to throw in some more rules or more restrictions, then the players union might not be happy about it. But I think at the end of the day, that's what's going to happen.
And my mom said it best, to me, she's like, look, media members have to get vaccinated if you want to cover that team. Of course, coaches, certain players have to be vaccinated, and the fans have to be vaccinated. So why do some players think they don't have to be? It's not fair. It's already affected the Bucs. Ryan Suckup is on the list now. And also tonight, you had guards Earl Watford and Nick Leverett, who's also there. And that's the problem. See, when something like this happens, it affects the whole room, and that really destroys your depth. So we're going to get a chance to see the rookie kicker out of Miami kick tomorrow night. And of course, the Bucs are going to be down with the depth situation. Going back to Jacksonville, there's been recent reports that some players are unhappy with Urban Meyer. Of course, Trevor Lawrence named the starter to surprise of no one. What do you think about that situation with Meyer? Can he get enough out of those players? Can his college tactics work in the National Football League? Or is it a situation where most likely he could fail like a Nick Saban did?
A lot of times what works in college does not work in the NFL, whether it's college basketball to the NBA, or whether it's the NFL. That's a tough one. Now, I had not heard that there's the upheaval, the unrest that you're talking about in Jacksonville. To me, a lot of times it's just a matter about winning, and winning cures everything, right? But honestly, if people are already complaining 3 weeks in after only two preseason games, I mean, come on. I mean, it's your job.
Right.
It's your job.
Right.
You're getting a paycheck to do this job. Shut your mouth, do your job, do what you're supposed to do on the field, and move on. And if you're already complaining 2 weeks after the season, it hasn't even started yet. I don't know. I just have issues with that. But again, I'm old school. I get it.
Well, this is from Pete Prisco of CBSSportsline.com. He went on a radio show talking about it, I believe the DA show. And he said that, Meyer was upset because he hasn't lost that much in college. And that's the biggest transition, right? I mean, when a coach wins all throughout his career in college football, and he's done that to his credit, maybe in not necessarily the greatest terms because of the players that he's picked out and how they've turned out, if you will. But he's won at Utah. He's won at Bowling Green. He's won at Florida. He's won at Ohio State. Could a guy like Meyer take, a year of maybe winning 4 games and then the next year winning 6 games? Because it's not going to turn around overnight. Or do you think they will have a turnaround, if you will, with a Trevor Lawrence? I mean, they lost
with that talent.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see it.
No, their offensive line is horrible. I mean, James, and now that they lost ETN, I mean, he wasn't going to be a true running back anyway. They were going to use him all over the place. Sure. James Robinson was a great surprise last year, but at the end of the day, they just don't have a lot of talent. I mean, got a couple of decent receivers, but you can't bring in a kid and expect him to turn everything around. And you know what? I'm sure there's some people who aren't fan of Urban Meyer for the way that he left UF. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know there's some Gator fans who will never forgive him for that. So, I mean, he has that reputation anyway, where there's going to be some people maybe who aren't huge fans of him. But I mean, come on, 2 weeks into it, they're already complaining about it. I mean, he's your boss. Do your job. And if he doesn't do his job and they lose games, well, he'll be gone probably before you will be. And that's just the way it is in coaching.
And some people are kind of already comparing him to Greg Schiano, like he's going to end up like Greg Schiano. I'm ready to give him a chance. I'm ready to see what this offense is all about. But do you think in the grand scheme of things that he did make the right decision by starting Lawrence from the very get-go? Or should he take the Chicago Bears route where, they're starting a veteran presence like a Gardner Minshew, an Andy Dalton? Should they have started a Minshew instead of Lawrence?
Well, first of all, I think Fields goes in by week 2, if not 2, absolutely week 3. So I think Andy Dalton, I think he gets in 1 week, maybe 2. So that's just me. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I see both sides to the argument with Lawrence. I do. I see you don't want to ruin the kid's confidence. And if he's got an offensive line that isn't doing the job and he's getting beat up back there and he's making poor decisions because he doesn't have any time and his confidence shot, that can have a real long-term impact on him. You can argue that's what happened with Sam Darnold with the Jets, or you can maybe argue that Sam Darnold is not a very good quarterback. We'll find out now with Carolina.
Right.
But, I do think that argument can be made. But on the other side of the coin, there have been some quarterbacks that have been thrown into the fire, and they have found a way to rise to the occasion, and they were just that good. Now, everybody talks about Trevor Lawrence is that kind of a guy. I guess we'll find out. I could see both sides to that argument. I really could. I see that bring in Minshew, the guy's been around, maybe gives him a better chance to win. But is he your long-term quarterback? Nope. Maybe you'll get the kid a chance to learn while he's doing it. But then again, you're hurting his confidence. So honestly, I see both sides to that argument.
All right. I like it. All right. Let me go out to these comments here. Question from Kyle. Does Ryan Griffin make the team, or is this the year we let him go? Hard to see the Bucs go into a season with 4 quarterbacks. Is that where you stand, that Ryan Griffin is the odd man out at this point?
Yeah, that's everything I've been hearing too. I mean, I've not really had my finger on the pulse of too much of that, but they're obviously not gonna get rid of Trask, and I mean, it just seems like that's the odd man out.
Okay. All right. I like it. I think you're right about that. Even though Kyle Trask, played rough, had a couple interceptions against the Titans, and I seen an article where somebody said the Bucs need to find a new quarterback. I'm like, are you serious? In the second meaningless preseason game, we're already ready to get rid of a quarterback. Realm with Denis Phillips of ABC Action News, talking about rookie quarterbacks, and we'll get you out of here. Mac Jones, do you think he has a distinct possibility to start for this team with Cam Newton in the situation with COVID? Do you think he starts any way it goes because he gives the Patriots the best chance to win? What have you seen out of Mr. Jones during this preseason?
Okay, well, 2 things. We're back to Trask real quick, and Brady might have just been saying the right thing, and he certainly knows how to play the media. But it seemed like Tom Brady was really wanting to take Kyle Trask under his wing and really kind of work with him a little bit. So to me, if Brady likes the guy, then he's not going anywhere. That's just my thought. But back with Mac Jones. So I was listening to a podcast last week, and Charlie Weiss, who's a former offensive coordinator for the Patriots, was on. Not affiliated with the team anymore, but he still has his finger on the pulse. And he said they love Mac Jones on that team, that they love him. He had a scrimmage when they were up against the Giants earlier this week, and he went 35 for 40 and had 18 straight completions. So they love the guy. And, Belichick, you could tell even though he's like, oh, Cam's my guy last year, even when Cam was just horrific, oh, he's my guy. And then he benched him a couple of times, obviously. But it just sounds like they believe in Mac Jones. They've picked up some nice receivers in the offseason, and they think that he is a guy who can facilitate the ball to those guys better than Cam Newton. And you can make the argument, Cam might still have his legs a little bit, but his arm has not been showing nearly as much the last couple of years. And it's old age, it's injuries, it's a combination of a lot of things, but he has a really tough time accurately throwing the ball. And apparently that's one thing that Jones is showing really early on, that not only is he able to get the ball, he's making the decision. He's going to his first, his second, his third, his fourth choice, and still making those checkdowns and making the right decision. So everything I've been hearing and reading about him is that they love the guy up there.
Yeah, and I don't know why you wouldn't love him, because, look, he played for Nick Saban. He played in an offense over 70% completion percentage. And everybody says, he doesn't have the athleticism, and all the Tom Brady comparisons have come out. Look, he's a totally different quarterback. Don't have those expectations. But if he knows the offense, he's accurate. He can get the ball to those wide receivers. New England could be scary in that division, although I think you would agree that it's going to be the Buffalo Bills that win that division, and maybe the Miami Dolphins. What have you seen out of Tua that kind of makes you think that maybe he takes that next step of progression?
Yeah, that's an interesting team. I mean, for a period of time, there was talk that the Dolphins were looking to Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
I mean, I had heard that, and who knows what's going to happen with that. But Tua is very up and down, but then again, he's still such a young quarterback. It seems like, he's got a ton of guys to throw to. He's got Gesicki, a Penn Stater, really super tall tight end. I think he's like 6'6".
Love him.
And they've got great receivers, to go along with their veterans. They've got the young guys too. So, I'm not so sure about their backfield with Gaskin, but I certainly think that Tua has got some choices And matter of fact, they were interviewing him after the last game, and they were talking about Gesicki, and he's like, "What do you like about him?" And he said, "Dude gets open." He's like, "Dude gets open," And so I think that could be a real nice surprise team. I mean, they finished the season strong last season,
right.
And I'm really interested to see Buffalo. It seems like they're the obvious pick because last year they were almost there, and you just usually that team the year before, if they don't quite get there, the next year they usually make it over the hump. So you got to think that with Josh Allen that they're going to do it. But I don't know. I'm just wondering if somebody in that division might surprise him. And I'm with you. I mean, who knows? Is it the Dolphins? Is it the Patriots? It wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, a lot of people talking about Zach Wilson. He's looking good, but it's preseason. I mean, honestly, calm some of the Jets fans down. I get it. They want to win. But what have you seen from Zach Wilson? And do you think this kid, I know it's a small sample size, but do you think he can be successful with the Jets, or is it going to take a couple years for him to really thrive in that offense?
He has looked so good. He's mobile, obviously something that they haven't had a ton of. He's making the right decisions, but he plays for the New York Jets.
Right.
I mean,
here you go.
That's it. Right? I mean, that's it. It's a shame to say that, but that's what it is. So I just think he's going to fail because everybody fails on the Jets until they don't. And when they don't, great. Good for them. Because I hope he succeeds. I really do. Yeah. I just don't see it.
You hope so. So Denis Phillips of ABC Action News, go ahead and promote yourself here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television.
Going to be tracking Hurricane Ida all weekend long, whether I'm on air or online. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff. And we'll be updating as the storm approaches the northern Gulf Coast this weekend. And you can find me on ABC Action News at 5, 5:36, and 11 Monday through Friday.
Good stuff. Tornadic activity.
That was nice, man.
Thank you very much. Denis Phillips of ABC Action News. Thanks a lot for your time here on NSPN, and I love St. Pete. All right?
See you, Pete.
See ya. There you go, Denis Phillips. And a lot of people say, I like you guys together. Well, he ain't going nowhere. I mean, we're going to get him on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Of course. We're going to talk Bucs football. We're going to talk around the National Football League. We're going to talk about fantasy football. Once again, let me go ahead and put up the phone line because I didn't do it. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let me read some of these comments, and then we'll get out to our other guest, Mr. J.C. Allen of Pewter Report. You heard me right. We'll be breaking down some of these matchups, who to look for, and we'll be taking your questions here on this texting line and, of course, on the phone line. Let me go watch to Troy Polamalu, King Troy, after the vaccine, America land of the free. All right, I'm not going to get into that. The NFL did institute a rule. If a game had to be canceled due to COVID, that game would be forfeited, I do believe, absolutely. And that's not what you want. And trust me, I don't want to come on the show and talk about it, but it's a reality, right? It's a reality situation. It is. Because already you see outbreaks. Good thing it's not during the season, right? Tennessee Titans. That was scary. Before Urban Meyer moved to Jacksonville, he made sure the city had good hospitals. I don't know what that means, so I'm just going to do that.
Shut up!
Happy belated birthday, Denis, and happy birthday to your son. There you go. I believe this is Kyle again. Chicago is more built to win team compared to Jacksonville. So to me, makes sense that Chicago's go with a veteran quarterback, although the veteran quarterback is Andy Dalton, who has been complete. I mean, that when I talk about Andy Dalton, that's what I'm going to do. I'm sorry. I'm not an Andy Dalton fan and don't understand the fascination with him. Just like I don't understand the fascination with Mike Glennon. Besides the fact he looks like Napoleon Dynamite. And continues to get backup quarterback jobs. And consequently, both of those quarterbacks played for the Chicago Bears. Go figure. New England has lost some big name vets on both sides of the ball, so the Bills are the team to beat. So on that note, let's go ahead and bring in our buddy here, J.C. Allen of the Pewter Report. Mister, welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. And I know you're excited about the Bucs ending this preseason only 13 days away, my friend, from Cowboys and Bucks on Thursday Night Football. Welcome to the Evolution.
Hey, happy to be here. Yeah, we're Mike Evans days away from kickoff. Can't wait. Football is back. Ending this preseason weekend right here. Big game against the Texans, not because it's the Texans and they're a tough opponent. I mean, I think you could beat the Texans probably with your second stringers, but we're going to see a lot of action from the first guys. All the starters are going to play at least a half. Bruce said on Wednesday that if he doesn't see enough in the first half out of the starters, he might play him into the third quarter. So we're going to get to see some good Bucks football start to see how much the offense has improved in a game-type situation, only getting 6 snaps from him in the first week. So it's going to be interesting. I know a lot of eyes are going to be on it. It was something that we had talked about, and a lot of people had thought about what they were going to do with the shortened preseason with only 3 games. Would they treat that second game like the third game, or would they treat the third game as the third game usually is, where you play your starters a little bit longer? And it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to play that third game with their starters. Now, other teams haven't done that, but Bruce is doing that. He's playing his starters deep into that third game and using the next week as an essential bye week for them. He wants to see them knock some rust off and really get up to game speed. So when they're playing the Cowboys, who have had 5 games to play this preseason, to really, be on their A game, and especially at home where you're dropping the banner and it's going to be a celebration.
Well, look, the Cowboys have needed it because there's so much uncertainty surrounding a Dak Prescott. And look, I don't think he's going to be 100%. I think that already is an advantage for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. With that being said, how long? A first half? Do you think they play into the third quarter for these starters tomorrow night versus the Texans?
If it was against another team, I could see them probably maybe playing into the third quarter, but it's the Texans. I mean, they could go 0-16 this year, really. Their quarterback play, their defense, they've lost a lot of key contributors. I think they can get the job done in a half. I mean, I'd be shocked if they don't put 3 scores on this Texans team, at least.
To me, I smell blowout. I smell blowout all day long. I feel like they're going to take all that anger. BA's had a lot of anger for this offense. Maybe not necessarily every practice, but it certainly seems like they're going to make a point, and that point is to basically blow out the Texans in that first half. With all that being said, what do you make of BA's comments this week of, look, it's my way or the highway. You guys are going to stay in no matter if you're vaccinated. You cover this team on a daily basis. Do you feel like there's any disenchantment from the players with BA's comments? Not
at all. I mean, if there was, that went out the window with Ryan Suckup testing positive going out to dinner with the Titans players. I mean, I think it's you have the blueprint, right? You did it last year. I mean, you essentially followed these guidelines, followed these rules last year, and you end up being one of the least affected teams by the COVID-19 virus. Now with this new Delta strain, which is, obviously still affecting players, and players are still getting positive, and also the new protocols about forfeits and losing game checks. And, I think the players, they did it last year. It's nothing to do it again this year. Hopefully things will be back to normal next year. But they've reached the pinnacle of success. They've reached the ultimate goal to win a championship. And they're going to do anything in their power to do that again. If that means no, family at the hotel, if that means no going out to dinner at certain spots. Now, it might affect some of the younger guys. They might, be itching to get out and see the new city for the first time. And, a lot of them haven't traveled in their life before. But the veterans, whatever, let's just get it done. Bring your Xbox, bring your PlayStation, jump into your game plan, and just be ready to play. But I don't think it's going to be affecting them as necessarily as it might affect another team. I mean, you haven't really heard many complaints from anyone on the team. Publicly, there's been some players who have been a little bit standoffish on the vaccine. Leonard Fournette's been one who's been wanting to do more research and everything like that. But BA is pretty confident that by the time kickoff happens, this team's going to be 100% vaccinated. And the numbers that just came out from the NFL, I think it was 93% of teams are vaccinated and 99% of all coaching staffs vaccinated. There's, and those numbers are diluted too by 80-man rosters right now too. So once you get down to 53, I think they're going to be right there in the 100. Maybe one player, as BA said last week, might not be vaccinated, but they should be, all there. And even if they are vaccinated, you got guys like today, Earl Watford and Nick Leverett, both vaccinated players, are on the COVID-19 list. So you just got to be careful. And, I think that it's not going to be an issue for this team at all.
Yeah, I think it comes down to priorities, and our priority here is with JC Allen of Pewter Report here on the evolution of sports talk television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, live on NSPN, because if media is going to evolve, you got to have an evolution, and that's what you got. And, of course, on I Love St. Pete, of course, they also made some moves today, releasing safety Raven Green. It looks like Javon Hagan is going to make this team. Any surprises from some of these recent cuts?
Raven Green was already released, but he was released as designated as injured, so he was on the injured reserve. He might feel like he's healthy enough or wants the opportunity to go play somewhere else. So they just reached the injury settlement and cut him and released him from injury reserve. More the power to him. He was injured most of the time here. Hasn't been like a standout. If it was like a Curtis Riley who has significant experience, unfortunately he ruptured his Achilles, so he won't be playing at all this year. But if it was that sort of circumstance, I think it might be a little bit different. Raven Green's going to probably have a tough time latching on. Maybe find a spot on a practice squad. We'll see. He's a free agent now to do what he wants. But yeah, Javon Hagan's pretty much got this spot wrapped up. He's in the driver's seat with about half a lap ahead of Chris Cooper. Now, Chris Cooper did play very well on special teams, and it was, he was praised by Bruce Arians about it, but it's going to take a complete special teams, all-star, all-pro level game from Chris Cooper, I think, and some major impact in the defensive secondary. And probably less than a quarter, because you think if the starters play a half, Javon Hagan probably gets a second half with third quarter with Ross Cockrell back there at safety, and then maybe you'll get a Hagan, Cooper, Cockrell type of rotation in the fourth quarter. But I think the play on defense, the versatility, being able to play both safety spots, and he's he's the leading leader in tackles on the team, has an interception, 4 tackles for a loss, and has also played a majority of special teams. I just don't see them keeping Cooper over Hagan at this point, but I wouldn't be surprised. And Bruce said they're always looking for safety help, so waiver wires right around the corner too. Once all these cuts come down on Tuesday, you could see them look elsewhere, perhaps with a veteran, and strengthen that defensive safety core.
Yeah, Hagan's a friend of the show, so we're rooting for him here on the Sports Web. Way back last year when we interviewed him. That's right. Let's go out to Steve here. How strong do you think our secondary is, 1 to 10? I'm going to answer this, and I'll let you. I think they're 8 or 9, and I'll tell you why. And I know Trollbag here, Troy Polamalu, Troy Trojan legend, he hates these corners, but I love Carlton Davis coming to a free agency year. I love a Sean Murphy Bunting. I think he absolutely progressed in that postseason, really stepped up. I've always loved the Jamel Dean. And then you look at the safety position, Jordan Whitehead, even though he's not healthy, I think he will get healthy. And Antoine Winfield, Ross Cockrell, Hagan, I would give them an 8 or 9. Where do you stand on it?
Yeah, I'm probably right around there, 7.5, 8.5, somewhere in there. I think a lot of that depends on the jump that Sean Murphy Bunting takes. Can he pick up where he left off? He's going to be fully healthy this year. Pulled his groin in like week 2, and then had 2 broken thumbs, and then sprained his ankle in the playoffs and still showed out. So I know he has All-Pro talking to him. He's got All-Pro on his mind. He's really dialed in. So he's going to play a majority of the snaps outside. When they bring in 3 corners, he might go inside with Jamel Dean taking the outside guy just because of the speed factor. I still need to see it all put together by Jamel Dean. It looks like he's improved in camp, somewhat in games. But I want to see it all put together in one game, one situation, and consistently. Antoine Winfield Jr. not worried about. Jordan Whitehead, when healthy, plays his role to a T. Mike Edwards, you have a ball hawking guy right there. And Ross Cockrell, really, as you know, I was very high on him, and I'll keep saying it, very high on that signing, 2-year signing. He's a veteran guy who can come in and give you some starts if the guys go down. Now he can also give you some starts at safety as well, play special teams. So I think you've got a very solid group there. I think you've got good depth there as well. I just want to see a little more consistency. The only one who's kind of really been consistent is Carlton Davis. But even on the flip side, not to show too much, bias, he's also been very consistent at not catching the ball. Leads the leagues in pass defended since 2019. He needs to turn more of those into interceptions. Had 5 last year on the team, led the team, but he needs to catch more balls to be really considered as one of these top tier cornerbacks. We know he can shut down some top competition.
Sure.
You know, other than that game against that half, I should say, against Tyreek Hill.
Right.
You know, he shut down some of the best wide receivers in the league throughout his career. But he needs to be more consistent when the ball hits him in the hands, and he needs to do it, you know, I wouldn't say on every game basis, but, you know, you got to turn some of those PDs into INTs.
Yeah, you do, and especially if you want to get paid a big-time free agent contract, which is, you know, what he's up for. So he absolutely has every opportunity in the world to make a lot of money this year, and I find it very, very, you know, peculiar that fans continue to bash this back end when basically this back end did a unbelievable job versus a Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I get it. It was not only the pass rush, but it was also those guys covering those wide receivers doing their job. They did a phenomenal job in that game, and I don't understand why they're not getting the respect they deserve.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the biggest thing is coverage and pass rush go hand in hand, right? You've heard things called coverage sacks, you know, that, you know, same thing goes, you know, pass rush interceptions, you know, you get the ball quickly, frantically, it, you know, can turn into an interception. Well, if you're covering your guy good, it lets your guys get home a little bit, you know, give them a little bit more time to get home if you can't get the ball out quickly. And I think that's one of the things that these, especially a guy like Carlton Davis can do is, you know, play that man coverage and really lock down a defender on one side of the. I don't think he's necessarily at the island cornerback spot yet, but he's pretty damn good. You know, Murderers Row, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, Devontae Adams, Michael Thomas is his child. You know, Tyreek Hill in that AFC in the Super Bowl did a really well job, and I know there's a little bit of safety help as well, but you know, that's what you're looking for out of your corner. And I think he brings it, and going up against this wide receiving core, it's just going to make him better and better. You know, he's got the best of Mike Evans. Mike Evans got the best of him a few times, and it's just going to make this whole, you know, the adage around here so far in camp and throughout this Bucs preseason and offseason is iron sharpens iron. And when you have a defense this good and an offense this good and these players going up against each other at pivotal spots, wide receiver, cornerback, defensive line, offensive line, it's just going to make this team that much better when they go against, you know, for lack of a better term, lesser competition or less put together teams. And it should really benefit them once, you know, the wheels start turning in the regular season.
All right, and the wheels are turning right now with J.C. Allen, of course, made his debut, if you will, here on the Sports Web. That is true. Here on NSP, and of course, I love St. Pete. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend SC. Cut that bum Griffin and bring the GOAT, Joe Flacco. Buddy, I think Flacco most likely could be the backup, and he could be fighting for a starting position with the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, Griffin, he is the odd man out, right? Tomorrow night.
Yeah, and I wrote about this today in my Bucs camp final update with my updated 53-man roster as well. You know, the writing has been on the wall for Griff ever since they drafted Kyle Trask in the second round, and even before that. You know, when he signed and then they re-signed Blaine Gabbert, he kind of knew what was going on here. The Bucs were upfront with him and say, hey, you know, we're looking at potential quarterback targets in the draft and we might bring a guy. So he's known what was up. It's up to him now, really, and well, not completely up to him because he'll go through waivers, but you know, if another team wants to bring him in or if he wants to come back to the practice squad, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't come back to the practice squad. You know, he knows this team. The team knows him. The only thing is, too, is now that you have that guy, Kyle Trask, is Griff going to take away snaps on the scout team from him? Do you really want that? But it is COVID, so do you want that insurance on the roster as well? Having veterans on the roster gives you a huge advantage over previous years when you couldn't have, you know, you could only have players with only a certain amount of accrued seasons. So it's going to be an interesting situation. Do they feel like they need depth at other positions? With 3, you know, quarterbacks on the main roster, or do they feel like they need to have a guy just in case and maybe he goes into a quarantine situation? Probably not, but it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But if he does make the practice squad, he'll be the longest tenured Bucs quarterback in history. So, I'm kind of rooting to see that, but at the same time, I think they could definitely use a practice squad position on someone else.
That's not a good thing because, on just like Cleveland,
two career passes.
Right. I mean, this to me is like a quarterback graveyard. Okay. Young quarterbacks don't necessarily usually develop here. So not necessarily a great thing. With all that being said, not a great performance by Kyle Trask, 13 for 26, 132 yards, couple interceptions. And I even seen a publication say the Bucs need a new quarterback. Do you feel like there's any panic at $1 about Kyle Trask, or people making too much about a worthless, meaningless preseason game?
Well, I mean, there were some of those interceptions were tips. You also got to remember he had a lot of wide receivers drop the balls. That's why you've seen some guys cut. You take it with a grain of salt. You evaluate the plays that he did look good in. You can't just look at the body of work or the stat sheet and say, okay, this is 2 interceptions, this. You got to really look at what happened, and that's where coming down and breaking down the game film, and not even just breaking it down, but just watching and saying, okay, he looked good on this snap, he looked good on this drop back, he looked good on this throw. The wide receiver dropped it. The wide receiver went through his hands, and it was tipped. Now, bad egregious throws are going to be bad egregious throws, and you can judge those ones, but that's the thing. We're not seeing him, we're not seeing some Winston-ness from him, which is good. He's made some smart plays. He's thrown the ball away instead of taking sacks, but he did have that fumble, which was, what are you doing, Kyle? But I don't think there's any issue here. We're talking about a guy who is getting used to game speed and who's gone from throwing to 2 of the top 15 picks in the draft in Kyle Pitts and Kadarius Toney to throwing to the likes of TJ Simmons and, Cody McElroy and Jarrell Adams, CJ Prosise. So, when he was out in camp with the ones, he looked pretty good. I'm waiting to see, next year, it's a redshirt year. He's not going to see the field. He's going to sit back. He's going to learn from some of the best in the business, best in coaches, best quarterback, and we'll see what he can do next year during the preseason and during camp and how much he's grown. So I'm not worried about Kyle Trask. I'm one of the schools of thought that you should always be developing quarterbacks. Look at what the Patriots did. You look at the guys, Jimmy Garoppolo, Stidham, Jacoby Brissett, Ryan Mallett, Brian Hoyer, Matt Castle. You should always have young guys in the building, develop them. Even if they don't turn into potential starters, you could still get a really good backup. I know people a second-round pick on a backup. You look at this draft overall, it wasn't that strong. So, and it was, you look at this roster, there wasn't many spots where you could fit a guy on, so it's going to, maybe they could have taken a better inside linebacker in the second round. Maybe you want to have that gripe, go ahead, I guess, but other than that, I mean, it's going to be hard enough for the cutting talented players to fit some of the players that did draft anyways. So,
yeah, I mean, what do you make of the Jameis Winston situation? Now the starting quarterback of the New Orleans Saints, surprised by that, or is that a foregone conclusion? Because clearly he is a better quarterback than a Taysom Hill, and he gives him the opportunity to go down the field with his deep ball.
Yeah, Taysom Hill's not a real quarterback. That's why, he's a gimmick player. Can he make some throws? Yeah. Can he read some off defenses? Yeah. Is he going to be a guy that leads you into the playoffs? Probably not. Can he cover a few games if you need to? Yeah. Can you make some plays out? Can you put some plays in the playbook where, you're doing some weird wildcat stuff where you got both of them on the field and he makes some play? Yeah, of course. You did it with Drew Brees. You've seen that. But as a real quarterback, I don't think so. As for Jameis Winston, yeah, he looked pretty good the other night. I'm not going to lie. But, decision making play and when it counts is really gonna matter. Has he improved his decision making? We've always known the talent was there. We know he could throw the ball deep. We know he can play football. He was the number 1 pick overall. It's has he fixed his accuracy issues a little bit? Has he fixed his field vision? Has he fixed his know-it-all on whether to take a sack, throw the ball out of bounds instead of just tossing it up? We'll see all that stuff when it counts in regular season games. We would have gotten another look before, Denis got a hurricane coming up this weekend with some tornadic activity. I know he's excited about that, but
there's tornadic activity.
So I mean, I know Bucs fans are licking their chops. They can't wait to see Jameis against this team. on Halloween and then again in December. So great storylines for us to write about, for us to talk about. If he's still the starter, remains the starter then. But, I'm not holding my breath. You've got a lot of mixed reactions from some Bucs fans here about the whole Jameis situation. If he turns into, what Jameis 101 spews in a great quarterback, then people might be upset. But you got a Super Bowl out of the deal and you're favored to win another Super Bowl. I don't know why you would be upset about a quarterback who didn't necessarily work out, even though he might have all the promise in the world. Go out, find another quarterback, whether it's a veteran, whether it's a rookie, whether it's Kyle Trask. You'll move on. Jason Light has done an amazing job drafting. I mean, you got a great coach. You got a great coaching staff in place if Arians walks away. I'm not worried at one bit about the future at quarterback, and neither should anybody else. You got the GOAT.
Yeah, I agree. I don't understand the problem. I'm happy for him. I'm glad he's a starter. I think it's going to be a lot tougher than people expect. It's not preseason. You're without a Michael Thomas. You don't necessarily have a number one wide receiver there. Yeah. But I wish him luck, and I hope he throws a couple interceptions on Halloween. It's trick or treat.
It's exactly.
Halloween. I mean, it's beautiful.
You're probably going to get a little bit of both. I mean, it writes its story, and that's one of the headlines I'm probably going to use. Trick or treat. But the thing is too is it's tough when you're. It's tough being from Tampa and drafting a quarterback like a Kyle Trask or Jameis Winston. 2.5 hours from Florida State. You're 2.5 hours from Gainesville. So you had this group of people here who are either Florida or they're Seminoles or they're Gators. So, they're invested not only in the quarterback once he's brought here, but they've already been invested in him in his college career. So, these people get so wrapped up in their feelings about these quarterbacks, especially a guy like Jameis. And, now, you have the left and the right wing on Kyle Trask. It's going to be difficult if Trask doesn't pan out. It's going to be difficult if Winston does pan out. And, you got these people who are conflicted. But at the same time, you just won a Super Bowl. You're here now. You got the GOAT. Who cares?
Right. Well, they're just going crazy.
Unless the Saints win a Super Bowl the next 3 years, and Jameis is only on a 1-year deal. Now they could franchise tag him, but he could also say, hey, I'm out of here. And then now,
he has a great division. I mean, he played it right. I mean, if he is productive, he cuts down on his turnover situation, he could absolutely get paid by the National Football League. Somebody will go out there and pay him the money. Let's go out to the webheads here. Read more comments. Christopher Cole says the Vikings are a dumpster fire. Wow. Why are the Vikings a dumpster fire in your opinion? Well, what's that all about? Because, Kirk Cousins, besides,
Kirk Cousins is, an up and down quarterback and their defense needs some help. I mean, they signed Everson Griffin, but, I just don't,
Peterson. I mean,
it's tough to make real observations during preseason games.
Right.
You need to see what happens in the regular season, but I don't think that defense is going to be up to par to really make some noise. They've got some good offensive players, Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Dalvin Cook. That line could use a little help, and I know they put some resources into it this offseason and in the draft, but we'll see. I wouldn't say they're a dumpster fire. I just don't think they're I think they're more of a pretender than a contender. They could get hot. Who knows? But I just don't think it's going to happen.
Who knows with that division? I mean, you have Green Bay and the Aaron Rodgers situation, that debacle or distraction, whatever you call it. I mean, and then, Chicago starting howdy doody there. Andy Dalton as your starting quarterback.
Man, Justin Fields looks good already.
Yeah, he does. But I tell you right now, I bet he won't be saying the game slowed down for him after he basically got his bell rung. But that's the type of shot you can't have a quarterback take, because not only physically it's tough, but mentally. With all that being said, we'll get back to the comments in a moment. What do you make on this situation with the New England Patriots? You've been close to them. Cam Newton, of course, going on the list now. We're not sure if he has it or not. Second straight year. Does this open up the door for Mac Jones? All we've heard is how the Patriots and Bill Belichick are impressed with the Mac Jones. In your opinion, do you think Jones starts from day one, or do they take the safe side and go with the Newton?
I don't know if it's a safe side, and he's off the list and practiced with the Giants today or yesterday rather. And he looked pretty good, I guess, with the ones. Mac struggled with the ones after tearing him up on Wednesday when Newton wasn't there. But the caveat was Mac was acting as a road team and had like Bon Jovi blasting in his ear. So maybe that happened to it. I think it's pretty much what they're going to do with some of these rookie quarterbacks. Again, like Chicago, I think Justin Fields probably should get the start, but it's harder to go back, you start Justin Fields, then you bring Andy Dalton, then you bring him back. So I think the most likely scenario is that Cam Newton will be the starter day one. And then if he struggles and can't find the right groove, they've got Mac Jones waiting in the wings. I feel like I feel they're probably comfortable if something were to happen with Cam and they had to start him. But the money you're paying Cam, it's not astronomical. He is a veteran. He's seen a lot. I think you give him the starting nod. He looked all right that last preseason game as well, moving the ball down the field, making some good throws. You can use him differently too. It's harder for a defensive coordinator to prepare for a guy like Cam Newton than it is Mac Jones. Although Mac Jones has looked Brady-esque in some of his moving around the pocket. I'm not going to
be careful now because people will lose.
I'm not. No. I got it. No, he does not. He's not Tom Brady just because he's in a Patriots uniform and wearing number 10.
Right.
But he's been able, just that pocket. Because that's the type of quarterback he is, right? Same thing with Kyle Trask. They're not mobile quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. They're pocket passers. They're strictly pocket passers, and he's been able to make some moves where he's felt the rush, where he's been able to move out of the pocket and just make those slight side steps where he's felt the rush, moved, and made a throw. That's what I mean by Brady-esque. That's like, not he's don't get it twisted. But they have a really strong defense. They have a really strong running game. The tight ends are banged up right now. The wide receivers are, they're all right. They're nothing to be desired for. But if they can make plays and, stretch the field a little bit, open things up for that running game, I really think this Patriots team is going to be a ground and pound running, kind of like that, the Super Bowl against the Rams that year when they ran the ball up, played sound defense. Kind of Pittsburgh Steelers style, run the ball, play sound defense. And, Cam Newton gives you an extra, a little bit extra there too, because now you have to worry about not just the running backs, you got to worry about the quarterback too. So I think he gets a nod day one.
And Sonny Michel being traded to the LA Rams, I think it's a big move. I was surprised by that. They just basically gave up on a first round pick. Were you surprised by that trade?
No, they were going to most likely waive him. Ramondre Stevenson has looked great. JJ Taylor's looked great. And Sony's found a new burst. He looked really good. And I was watching. I was like, this is Sony Michel. He's looking great. But you got Damian Harris. You got James White. You got Ramondre Stevenson, JJ Taylor, Brandon Bolden. Someone's got to go. Bolden's your special teammates. JJ Taylor is young, and he's on one of those rookie contracts. And Sonny Michel was on an expiring deal, and he's going to get a couple million somewhere. So if you can get something, especially what they got, I think they got a 4th round pick and a 6th round pick. Then that's a great get for a guy who looks to be 3rd in line in the rotation for running back. So yeah, absolutely take it. And then with that extra draft capital, knowing that they're getting a 4th round pick in 2023. Or 2023, they traded a 7th round pick this year because they got the 6th round. And then they traded a 5th round pick for 2023 and picked up Sean Wade, who was a cornerback at Ohio State, who has looked pretty good with the Ravens, had a bad senior year I'm not sure if it was a senior year, but had a bad returning year at Ohio State. He wanted to play strictly corner. They were using him as a hybrid safety corner spot, had a pretty down year. Saw his draft stock slip from a 1st round pick to a 5th round pick, but the Ravens were using him in that hybrid type situation. Looked pretty good, just had a lot of depth. And the one thing I'm looking out for, there's another really, really good Patriot who started off as a cornerback and moved to safety, who's in a contract year. This is Devin McCourty. So, you get Wade in there, and maybe he can make that same type of transition to safety. And, now you're not having to address that. It costs you only a 7th and 5th round pick, and maybe you have a starting safety to replace Devin McCourty next year. So great moves by them, both great trades.
And you're absolutely right. The whispers has been, Stephon Gilmore, he's up on his contract, so he could be
J.C. Jackson,
right, getting traded. So, you have to replenish that with draft picks. And we're on with JC Allen here of the Pewter Report. We'll get back to the Bucs in a moment. Let's go out to these comments. Troy Polamalu, King Troy, Trojan Legend SC. Bunting and Davis suck. You know what? Troy Polamalu again. Pay Winfield Jr. Not yet. NSPN Next Gen Sports Media. If you're watching, smash the like button. Absolutely. Let's go out to Bucks Time 12. JCA and the house. Christopher Cole. If Brady plays longer, do we trade Trask?
Nah, yeah. I mean, what? Well, probably not. I mean, you got him for.
I'm amazed because I got a comment from somebody, one of those messages in my box for Facebook. And basically the guy was saying, I don't think they re-sign Brady. I'm like, are you crazy? If Brady is willing to play another couple years, you slow down the development of a Kyle Trask and you go with the greatest of all time and you let him retire. And then you evaluate the process that if he declines like a Peyton Manning, then of course you got to make some tough decisions. But if he's not declining, he's still playing at a high level. What's the rush?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not saying there's a hard cap on Brady, but you got 2 more seasons of him. I mean, he wants to play to his 45. Right. He's going to play his 45 season, which is next year, which you have Kyle Trask on a 4-year deal, rookie deal. That's only 2 years into his deal. So you're not going to trade the guy, 2 years in. Even if Brady decides he wants to play his 46th year, you still got 1 more year of a rookie contract with Kyle Trask. You put him out there and see what he does. You bring in some competition. Maybe it's Blaine Gabbert if you believe Arians and Jason Light, But I mean,
here's what I think about Blaine Gabbert. You ready?
But I mean, you're not just gonna trade a guy in a rookie year who's gonna been in the system for 3 years, who's learned under Brady, Arians, Leftwich, Clyde Christensen, Tom Moore. You're not gonna trade a guy with 1 year left on his rookie deal when you can see what you have in him before you make that decision. So, and that's if Brady plays 2 years instead of just 1. I think he probably hangs it up unless they go undefeated this season, which I highly, highly, highly doubt. I think he hangs it up next year, and then you got 2 years of Kyle Trask, and you see what you got in him. Or maybe Aaron Rodgers is a free agent. I've heard people say, let's see if we can talk Andrew Luck into coming out of retirement, or maybe there's another guy on the market that you can bring in. So, you assess the situation when you come to it. You got Kyle Trask for 4 years. Leave it alone. Let him develop.
It's like you're a kid again and you want to be an adult. And then when you're an adult, you're like looking back and saying, damn, I wish I was a kid again. Don't rush the process. All right. What is it? What did Billy Madison, what did he say to the kid? Stay young. Stay here.
Yeah, stay here for us. You know what the problem is the problem is for Bucs fans. And, as a Patriots guy and living in New England, there wasn't too much looking far in the future. You had Tom, you had a good coach who could put together a solid team, even if he sucked as a GM. They had solid pieces around where they could usually make a good run. We didn't really start looking into the future until, that 2019 year where you're like, okay, this is not looking good. Something could happen here. What are we going to do if Brady leaves? And now you're starting to think about it. The whispers are coming out, rumors are coming out. And now you're starting to think, oh, crap, what are we going to do? Well, Bucs fans haven't had that luxury. They've always had to say, okay, well, what about next year? The season's been over in November, or, the season's been teetering in December, whether you lose 3 games and now you're out. So it's always been a thing for Bucs fans to look to the future, look for what comes next. Okay, what can we do to improve this team? So I think it's been hard. It's like it's like a puppy who's hand shy, right? Or something like that, or a dog that's you're so used to the disappointment and to the letdown and to everything that you're looking forward to, what's going to come next, because the thing that comes next could be the better thing, could be, the turnaround. Well, you're at the turnaround right now. So it's time to just start living in the now, because you don't want to think too much about the future that you miss what's going on around you. It's like people who post comments about enjoy life as it comes and then post pictures of everything they do all the time. It's like I barely take pictures of what I'm doing with my family because I'm, too busy living in the moment. Or my wife said, well, I'm on Twitter, whatever. But, I don't need to take the pictures. I got mental images. I'm living in the moment for the most part. So, that's the thing. Just live for now and worry about the future when it comes. Do you not trust what the team and what the coaching staff and what the organization has given you, in the past? I mean, I think you have. I think you had a championship winning team before Tom Brady came here. Just needed help with the quarterback. You got that help. You won a championship. Now you brought everybody back. favored to win a championship. Enjoy it right now. Don't, don't think too far ahead.
Oh, just sit back, relax, put on your seatbelt, watch the Sports Web here live on NSPN. And of course, I Love St. Pete. We're on with JC Allen of the Pewter Report. Let's go out to more of these comments here tomorrow night. Of course, Ducky Sports Lounge, 6:30. It's going down. I know I know you're a big star now, okay, with Pewter Report and you're credentialed in the press box. But I'm just saying, on those road games, anytime you want to reunite and it feels so good together, we can do that. We can get you on the evolution of sports talk television. All right, boss?
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds good.
All right, there you go. Let's go out to this comment. Troy Polamalu, you Knowles suck. Let's go Gators, baby. And this is what I think of you. I love that.
I'll be running my own pregame show over at Pewter Report, but you usually start way before we do. So maybe I'll pop on yours first before we do mine.
Sure. Why not? So you're always welcome. I know it's preseason, but the Chiefs defense looks good.
I haven't paid attention.
No, I haven't either. But of course, the Chiefs have been the perennial favorite, if you will, out in Vegas. So we'll see how that turns out. Madden had them, I believe, winning the championship again versus the Carolina Panthers and Sam Darnold with his 36 touchdowns. Madden, what are you thinking? Let's go out to Kyle here. Thoughts on Dak? Does he play this week or does he try to go out week 1 against Tampa Bay with no real playing time under the belt? That's a great question. I mean, do you take the chance?
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
I think he's just coming out not having played for almost a year, and that's going to work to the Bucs' advantage. Maybe he'll probably get some reps. Obviously, he'll get some reps leading up to practice before the game, but you can't simulate game speed. You can't simulate an opponent, and that's going to be troublesome for him. Between that and their defensive secondary, and I just it. I hate saying games are going to be blowouts, right? Especially against a team that's as talented as the Cowboys offensively, but there's a chance that they could win by 17 points or more in this game. I just don't see how you can roll out Dak, who hasn't played in almost a year, and expect him to have chemistry with his guys right off the bat, be on the same page, even though they played together for a while, and have everything in sync and just going the way you want it. But it's still a Thursday night football game. It's still a primetime game.
Yep. And
we know those Thursday night primetime games are the Bucs' kryptonite. I don't see it happening, but it wouldn't shock me if the Bucs somehow dropped this game just because of some of the noise. It was funny because I was at the Bengals preseason game, and there were all around the stadium, and Harold Goodwin, the assistant head coach, run game coordinator, brought it up this week, Thursday on his press conference. But there were Super Bowl champion banners all around the stadium on the bottom. And I looked over to John and I was like, Bruce ain't having that. Those are gone. And Harold said it today. He's like, we got to move on from last year. And he said we had to take those Super Bowl banners down around the stadium. He's like, I wish we could take them down here and inside the practice facility. But you can't get complacent. And I think this team's done a really good job of not being complacent. But at the same time, it's going to be a big night, and it's going to be a celebrational night. You're celebrating with the fans for the first time, packed, sold out stadium, and you can get caught up in it. I don't think the Bucs do, but it's Thursday night.
It's a primetime game, and that's their Achilles heel, if you will. Although you go back to the Super Bowl, that's a primetime game, and they won it. Let's go out to the misses. Love seeing you guys together again. Great content as always. Just missing Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. Ray Kennedy, you'll come back here pretty soon. We'll get him back.
Is that a teaser?
Just saying. And they always come back to the Sports Web. I don't care what platform you're on. You always come back to the evolution of sports talk television because, guys, I got to tell you something. This is home. Let me go out to Taylor Jean again. Josh is obsessed with Twitter.
It's part of my job.
Like, it's your job. You got to be obsessed with Twitter.
I got to.
I don't know how you can sometimes because I get on there and it's just so toxic. I mean,
I stay away from that.
How do you deal with it?
I follow the sports guys I need to follow. I follow the players, and that's about it. I mean, there's a lot of things that I'll miss, but routinely once a day, I just type in the search keyword and type in Buccaneers, and I try to look for things that I can retweet or use for stories. I don't get into it with fans. I don't argue with fans. My Twitter is pretty much your one-stop shop for all things from Pewter Report, all things from the Buccaneers, and all things from anything else that's really newsworthy around the Buccaneers or big news around the NFL. I'm not, I'll put some fun stuff up there, like Ask Me Anythings, or, the other day I put it was, it had like 12 movies, sports movies, pick 3, and I'll do some interactive stuff like that. But as far as, I'm not battling with anybody.
Whoa.
I don't have it.
3 movies. All right, ready? Here we go. Remember the Titans.
Of course.
Any Given Sunday. It's underrated as a football movie. Al Pacino, Cameron Diaz, Jamie Foxx, Cool J. And the other movie I'm trying to think of, and I still cry to this day, Field of Dreams. Yours.
Okay. I mean, I've got obviously Remember the Titans. I've got Miracle. I love Miracle. It's one of my favorite movies.
Great movie.
And then I love Any Given Sunday. That speech just gets me hyped every single time.
I mean, come on.
But
that speech. Come on.
I'm gonna go nostalgic here. I'm gonna go nostalgic, and I grew up on it. And we're gonna go Little Giants. I freaking love Little Giants. I can watch that. The annexation of Puerto Rico, Icebox. No mercy.
No mercy. Yes.
I can watch that anytime. When those 3 movies come on, I usually stop and pause.
You had Rick Moranis in that. You had Ed O'Neill with Married Children.
Al Bundy.
You had John Madden.
Oh yeah.
Pittman, Bruce Smith, Emmitt Smith.
Tons and tons of people.
Brown. I mean, there was some good stuff in there. And I believe the guy who was doing the announcing at the time is one of the voices on The Simpsons, is he not? Harry Shearer?
I believe so, yeah.
There you go. I know my movies now. Come on.
I know you do.
They should have taken Tryon's teammate, Levi, in the second. Yeah, I think they're good there with Vita Vea and, of course, Ndamukong Suh. Looking forward to seeing those 2 hosses, as my uncle would say, in that middle of the line, because it really does free up guys like Shaq, JPP, and, of course, Tryon.
Yeah, Levi Onwuzurike has looked good for the Lions.
God bless.
But he didn't make it to their pick anyway, so they wouldn't have had a shot at him. Other than him, I really don't think that they were impressed with the defensive line group. I think there was, they didn't really like Christian Barmore. And I think there was only one other defensive lineman taken after that. I think it was Aleem McNeil that was taken. So, they weren't. I mean, they had multiple chances at Davion Nixon, who we thought was a potential first round, and a lot of people had him going to the Bucs in the first or second round. I think I had him going to them in the 4th round. He ended up going to the Panthers in the 5th. Again, I haven't really dived into this division and around the league. I've been so busy with camp and with work and everything else.
Sure.
I plan on doing that this week when we have a break from, the plays are off till Thursday. That's when I'm going to start doing my homework really around the division and around the NFL, and start really, dialing in on, upcoming matchups and jumping into my preparation for the Cowboys. But, I think defensive tackle will be a spot for them to address early on in the draft. I think depending on what happens with running back, I think I wouldn't be surprised 1-2 you see, defensive tackle, running back in either in some sort of order right there. I know they would have taken Travis Etienne probably ahead of Joe Tryon Shoyinka if he was there at 32.
Wow.
Glad they didn't, because this guy's a freaking animal. Would have been a top 15 pick, I think, if he returned to school. He's going to be that good in the league. So they kind of, not got a break, but got a gem right there. But yeah, I think defensive tackle, running back are going to be high on their priority list. Maybe wide receiver next year, probably tight end. I think you see those 4 positions probably targeted early, and probably line. So you're looking at, those 4 positions are going to be heavy targets for him in the draft.
All right, Joe Tryon Shoyinka.
Shoyinka.
Okay.
Shoyinka. Joe Tryon Shoyinka. Yeah, he threw the last name on there, the hyphenated name on there. So now it's like, I just call him JTS on our pod. JTS. We got JTS, LVD, CD3, SMB. Just keep it up. Rojo.
Can I just say
CG.
he shellacked the quarterback, whatever. All right. Let's time 12. All right. We read that one. Christopher Cole agree. We got great foundation finally since the late 90s. Let's go out to Kyle here. Let's hope the Bucs have a better year in primetime compared to last season. I mean, again, that's going to be a storyline that's going to be throughout the season because they got 5 primetime games, and it starts off on a Thursday night, and you know that BA wants this team to play a lot better under the lights.
Yeah. Yeah, and the other Thursday night game they have is one that I've circled, and I don't think it's because the opponent is anything to write at home about. It's the Philadelphia Eagles, but again, it's a Thursday night game. The Bucs struggle in primetime. They certainly struggle on Thursday night games. You go back to the last 2, the Bears this year, the Giants the year before. They lost both of those games, and not only that, the people that the competition they face ahead of prior to that. You're on the road in LA, then you're on the road in New England, then you're home against Miami. 3 really tough defenses. Then you go on a short week of rest. You're flying up to Philly on a on a Thursday night, and they've got some defensive pieces too. Fatigue might play a factor if this offense is banged up at any point by then. And that's another game I'm circling. I think this team, even if they are a little banged up, still has more talent to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Thursday nights are those anything could happen, crazy, wonky games that, I'm always circling those Thursday night games when it comes to teams, and especially this Buccaneers team.
Yeah, here's a good sports movie right here. There's no crying in baseball. A League of Their Own. Tom Hanks reminds me of my father. That's how my father would be if he were a manager. It's a great movie. I get the ending. I get it. Like, she could have held on to the ball, but she didn't hold on to the ball. But I really believe if she held on to the ball, they win. They were the better team at the point. But I understand it. I get it. They Hollywooded it up.
Of course.
But so
they got to Hollywood it up. Moneyball is one of my favorite baseball movies. I really enjoyed that one.
The depressing thing about Moneyball, it is a great movie. But with all that being said, and they romanticized about Moneyball and this and that, how much he accomplished. Never won a World Series. He never won a World Series once. And then they go, oh, well, they won Moneyball with Boston. Yeah, Boston Red Sox were not Moneyball. They spent over $100 million. Enough with that stuff. Enough Hollywooding it up. Although, again, Brad Pitt, Jonah Hill, very good in that movie. I like the movie. They didn't win anything.
Angels in the Outfield is also elite.
Well, who starred in that? Who eventually starred in Batman? And
everybody was in that movie. Like everybody.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. You had Matthew McConaughey. Yep. You had obviously Tony Danza was in there.
Oh, who's the boss?
Yeah, exactly. I forget the dude who was in was it Lethal Weapon? It wasn't Lethal Weapon.
Danny Glover. Yes.
Danny Glover was. I mean, they had just Adrian Brody was in. They had a lot of people in that cast.
Sure. Rookie of the Year. How about that one? No,
that's a good one too. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's just so Sandlot. We could go on and on about some of the great movies. Glory Road.
Yes, that's another one.
The Rookie. I mean, great movies.
Blue Chips. How about Shaq and Anthony Hardaway? You got Nick Nolte playing his best of Bobby Knight. I thought that was good.
That was a good one.
Like that movie, but it was realistic. He got game. Kind of,
Jesus.
Yeah, Jesus Shuttlesworth. You got Above the Rim. I mean, there's some good sports movies.
Like Mike.
Like Mike. There you go. Exactly. Space Jam 1, not 2. Not the LeBron version. Yeah. All right. Let's talk about this kicking situation. Ryan Suckup is going to be out of this game. How excited are the Bucs to see Jose? And I want to pronounce his name correct. I'm just going to say the kid from Miami.
Jose Borregales.
Borregales. There you go. Borregales. What do you think?
I don't think they're. It's a double-edged sword here, right? I mean, you're excited to see the kid and see what he can do.
Sure.
But I don't know how excited you are to let the league know what he can do. I've seen him in practice hitting 60-yarders, 61-yarders, 59-yarders regularly. He's been very consistent in camp. He was the Lou Groza winner last year in Miami for a reason. But you look around the league, and I was talking earlier in a Detroit Lions podcast, and they got Randy Bullock there, and they're trying to get anything they can to get rid of him. So it's one of these fine lines where you don't want to showcase him too much, right? And I think you had Bradley Pinion out there kicking a long field goal against the Titans because you didn't want to show Borgals can do. I mean, I think that's what you want to do. Little chip shots, extra points. You're not going to roll him out there for a 50, 60-yarder. You're just not going to do it because you're trying to get this guy back on the practice squad. I think every team in the league is going to try to have one of those kickers on their practice squad like last year. That's the last thing you want to do is for your kicker to go on a COVID protocol. Now, rules are a little bit more lax if the kicker is vaccinated. You don't have to go through the five-day quarantine process. But I still, I know Bruce wants to get that guy back on the practice squad just to have him there, and he's looked the part. He probably deserves a starting job somewhere. It's just you just paid Ryan Suckup all this money. Not to say Suckup's looked bad. He hit a 58-yarder himself the other day, so I mean that was very encouraging. A 49-yarder, not a 58-yarder. Geez, what am I talking? A 49-yarder the other day.
Right.
So I mean that's encouraging. He's more of a guy that hits inside the 35, really automatic inside there. So it's like I said, it's that double-edged sword. How much do you want to show of him? How much do you want to see of him? Because how much are you going to show the rest of the league?
Exactly. And it could become, type of deal where you keep them because of the COVID situation, to keep them on your practice squad. But once again, there's always that threat of a team picking him up. So maybe trade him. I don't know. But you look at these position backs.
I could see that.
Yeah, right.
I could see them trying to get like a conditional 6th or 7th round pick, someone who doesn't want to have to go through the battle of waiver wires. Another guy, while we're on the topic of trading guys who might not get, past the waiver wires, Tanner Hudson, he's another guy. I think Tanner I don't think he makes the roster straight out the gate. And I think if you can get a conditional 6th or 7th round pick for him, you take it. I mean, you're just adding more assets down the line for a guy who probably isn't going to be able to slide through waivers. If you're having people call you about trade interest on him, you're not keeping him. So you might as well try to get something for him.
But the problem is if a team knows that you're going to, basically cut him.
But that's the thing. If there's multiple teams that know that, and it's like the Patriots, right? The Patriots, they knew they probably weren't going to be able to get Sean Wade if he was waived. Or the Rams, perfect example. Having one of the best records in the league last year, they weren't going to be able to get Sony Michel if the Patriots waived him, most likely. So you trade an asset for him, and that's what I think other teams will do.
All right, let's go out to the misses here. Miss Taylor Jean, do you think being overconfident will be an obstacle for this team this season coming off a Super Bowl win? Go, JC.
No, I think they have. They've moved on. I've talked to some players and talked to some members of the team, not just coaching staff, PR department, other people with the organization. Their Super Bowl rings are tucked away. They're not bringing them out. They're not looking at them. They're not wearing them. They're not doing anything. This team has completely, for the most part, moved on from the Super Bowl last year. It's a new season. As BA would say, they haven't done shit yet. So, they've got to go out there and prove it all over again. Do they have a little bit more confidence and swagger knowing that, hey, we know we can do this. We did it last year. Yeah, but it's a new obstacle. It's a much harder obstacle because now everyone's standing up for you. Not that everyone doesn't stand up for every game, but you might get a little bit more effort as guys try to prove themselves. Okay, we can beat the Super Bowl championship team. Maybe we're on the right track, or maybe we're contenders, or maybe we are where we thought we were. If I can do well against upcoming pass rushers or regular pass rushers, I know Khalil Mack and Tristan Wirfs are looking for that rematch. Can I prove myself against Tristan Wirfs and getting up a little bit more for that match? They're calling the second-year player one of the best right tackles in the game, Antoine Winfield. Players hear the noise. Players, they're on Twitter. They're watching and things. Some react, some don't react, some block. We had a player block us on Pewter Report the other day. So it's like they're reading, they're watching. Back on Bucks Report, you remember Will Golston commented on one of our articles correcting us on his age because we got his age. His age was off by a year.
Right.
So they're reading, they're watching, they're looking. They know what's going on. They know what's being said, and that goes with players of other teams, especially when it comes to the Bucks. So, you can't be too confident. You can have a level of confidence and a level of swagger, and I know a lot of these players do. Look at JPP and Devin White for pure examples. But do I think overconfidence? No. I mean, Bruce Arians and Tom Brady do a very good job at keeping these guys grounded, level-headed, and focused on the next game, the next task, the next assignment, the next play. And I think you'll see that carry over throughout the entire season.
Good stuff. We got JC Allen and Pewter Report here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television on NSPN. And, of course, I love St. Pete. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake.
I could do this all night, but I got to get going in a little bit because I got to go write 2 articles for tomorrow. I got to write the preseason primer, and I got to write guys who need to really ball out to earn their spot. So
I'll tell you what, let's end it here. We'll save it because
let me get the next question. I'll take next gen sports question.
All right, you're gonna take this one. Super Bowl team's prediction for this year. Go, because I'm not gonna give mine away there. NSPN.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll tell you. I'll give you 4 teams. Right. I'll give you the 4 teams. So out of the NFC. I got the Bucs, obviously, because I mean they're just the complete team, returning all their starters. And I'm going to go back to the team they faced in the NFC Championship. I think it's the Packers.
Wow.
The Rams are an outlier. I think that they could. I mean, a lot depends on Matt Stafford and his health and how quickly everything comes together. I think they have a good defense, a good enough defense to do it. Their offense, they've got playmakers all over the field. I think losing Cam Akers hurt, but getting Sony Michel helps them. But the only reason why I'm not saying anyone from that division in the NFC West, Seattle, San Francisco, because or the Rams or the Cardinals, because they're all playing each other twice a season. They're going to beat the heck out of each other in that division. They're gonna, I wouldn't be surprised if whoever wins that division and whoever, because I think most likely you're getting at least 2 playoff teams, if not 3 playoff teams from that division. They're going to come in banged up and bruised and battle torn because, I don't even know who they're playing for the AFC or their other NFC matchup is, but I know just playing each other each, 2 times, 6 games against each other is going to really, do some damage on those guys because they're all really solid teams, in my opinion. Good defenses, good offenses. They all, some of them need a couple pieces here and there, but for the most part, they're pretty well put together teams. And, the Packers, they get the Bears. They get, who's got a good defense, but They did lose Kyle Fuller, and their offensive line, obviously, after Allen Robinson, who knows, quarterback who you started. The Lions are the Lions. They will what they are. What we thought they are. Kirk Cousins can't play a primetime game to save his life. So, I think the Packers probably have a little bit easier of a path. And it's Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to bet against him. He's a reigning MVP, and the guy just he can get it done. And they gave him a couple weapons to work with, so I think they're in a good shape. As for the AFC, I'm going to give you the Buffalo Bills. I don't think they take a step back. I think they take a step forward. Mm-hmm. You look at what they did in the draft, identified, hey, we need some help with pass rusher. When it got Boogie Basham, when it got Greg Russo, both of them have looked pretty good in preseason so far. So. I expect the leap from Josh Allen. And, although I think my Pats still make the playoffs, I just think the Bills are a little bit more ahead of them at the quarterback position. That's the only reason why. I liken, and then I like the Browns.
Wow.
Not the Chiefs. I like the Browns. I think the Chiefs, I know one of the readers, listeners mentioned the Chiefs defense looks good. And that was one spot where I really had concerns about the Chiefs defense not going out there, shoring up things. Frank Clark, could he be suspended after those weapons charges that were brought up? You look at guys like Chris Jones. Can he really step up and be that guy? They've got Tyrann Mathieu, but really not much else in that secondary. The linebacker spot, you're counting on a guy who was picked in the 3rd round last year to miss his season through injury to come back and play healthy, and a 2nd round pick to really shore up that linebacker spot. Dee Ford has been a liability. You have the offense, but then at the same time, you didn't really replace Sammy Watkins. You tried to with Juju Smith-Schuster and some other guys, but you didn't really replace them. I'm not sure how confident I am Mecole Hardman can be the guy for you to really, to make those plays when teams are really concentrating on Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. And I think the Bucs kind of gave you a preview of what you can do. Now they improved their offensive line, which should help Patrick Mahomes have more time. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be used a lot more, but I just look at this Cleveland Browns team and I don't really see many weaknesses, many flaws. They've got a really good secondary. They've got a pretty good linebacking core there. Maybe their biggest hole might be defensive tackle. But if you've got athletic linebackers who can hopefully, help out in that run game, And then on the offensive side of the ball, they've got one of the best offensive lines in football. You're stacked at tight end with Austin Hooper, Hunter Bryant, and the other dude, I forget his name right now, but
Njoku.
Yeah, David Njoku. You got Odell Beckham Jr. You have Jarvis Landry. They've got a couple other wide receivers. They took Anthony, I forget his last name, out of guy's a burner. He's going to open up the field. He's going to open up a lot of things underneath for Jarvis Landry to work with. And then the running backs. I mean, Baker Mayfield is your question mark there, but I think he took a good step. I think this offense is a really good fit for him. And, getting Odell Beckham Jr. back and getting a burner that can stretch the field for you, I think just helps them out tremendously. And, again, they play in a tough division, but I think that they're a team to watch out for that could, potentially make a lot of noise in this run.
I love it. And I tell you right now, I think there's a lot of expectations for the Cleveland Browns. Of course, what they did in the draft, drafting the kid out of Northwestern at cornerback is going to improve their situation. Yeah. Hopefully, Denzel Ward is healthy. And then, of course, you get the kid. I can't pronounce his name, I believe, out of Notre Dame because he had some.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to me,
this looked amazing.
Jadeveon Clowney is the guy to me that's got to step up. You always hear about his expectations, but he never does it. And if they can get that component with Myles Garrett on that other side, they'll definitely be a scary defense. Not only a scary offense, you've got about Nick Chubb and, of course, Kareem Hunt. So they're a complete team, too. And this guy right here is complete. J.C. Allen of Pewter Report. Go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television.
Yeah, guys, please give me a follow on Twitter. It's right here or somewhere. I always get this camera. Right here at J.C. Allen NFL. Like I said, I'm your one-stop shop for all things Bucks, whether it's Pewter Report content, whether it's content from PFF, whether it's content from the NFL, from ESPN, from the Buccaneers themselves. I've got all your content. Feel free to always slide into my DMs. Ask me any questions you want about the Buccaneers, my thoughts. Follow me on Pewter Report. I've got articles coming out pretty much daily right now where we got the Pewter Report podcast. Other than that, look for me around too. I'll be doing some podcasts soon. I'll be on the radio soon. So just keep your ear to the ground. Follow me and you'll find everything I'm doing. And I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate guys you throwing questions at me and being able to interact with you guys. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Absolutely. And you're always welcome here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. My brother, J.C. Allen of the Pewter Report. Once again, congratulations on all your success. And go Bucks.
Let's go, baby.
All right.
Season's almost here.
Exactly. Only 13 days away. Good stuff, J.C. Appreciate you. All right?
Always.
All right. There you go. And like I said, I'll get you out of here. There we go. Brothers always come back home. And no matter what platform they're with, they will come back to the sports web. I'll just leave it at that. Let's go on to Bucks time 12. They would have to trade up for Levi, but he was my Binky. Okay. All right. I guess. He's a big time guy in that middle. Definitely would have helped out this Bucks defense, but they're really happy. And we talked with Coach Des Walker about the depth that this defensive line has and some of the guys you need to watch out for. Khalil Davis, which will be a guy that we'll talk about tomorrow night. Elijah Ponder will be a guy. Of course, Steve McClendon. You have a Vea. You have a Sue. They have players. Of course, a Nacho, big-time fan of him. So, the progression, the development of those players, I think, was the reason why you went for a try-on. And, of course, a Trask in the second round. In case you missed it here, the big time announcement tonight, 6:30 tomorrow night. We'll be live from Ducky Sports Bar, 1719 West Kennedy Boulevard. Yours truly, Blake Anthony, Blake and Blake Sports back. Of course, you got J Buck Jamal Sanders of the 525 plan, beat writer for us, NSPN, Miss Allison Kohler. There's a rumor that Al Keck may be there. Possibly Leo Haggerty. I know that Travis Fraley of Rocket Sports and Entertainment, my lightning insider around the NFL correspondent. And, of course, who could forget the Power Man himself?
Yeah, baby.
Mr. Jason Powers. So we got you locked in. Lock us in tomorrow night, 6:30, live here on Next Gen Sports Media Network, NSPN. And, of course, I Love St. Pete. And the other big-time announcement, this baby is going streaming. It's going on Roku. It's going on Fire Stick. It's going on Apple. Champa Bay TV. Look at that. More opportunities to expand our reach. That's what it's all about. Because once again, if sports media is going to evolve, it's got to have an evolution. And once again, we're only 13 days away from Bucks versus Cowboys. Do 3 things for me on this late Friday night. You ready? There's a quiz afterwards. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake. Tornadic activity. Have a great night.
Gorilla Gurus.
Hey, Stan Arthur here for the I Love St. Pete Facebook group. If you're a business owner looking to connect with tens of thousands of potential new local customers, you owe it to yourself to get enrolled in our Key Tag Rewards program. Since 2019, we've signed up more than 200 local merchants. Sponsor opportunities are available too, such as our group banner ad and even your own custom key tags. Just go to stpetekeytag.com, get enrolled, and get ready to get busy. stpetekeytag.com.
Welcome to the Double. 3-day block party in Ducky's parking lot. The best watching experience in Tampa Bay. 26-foot screen to watch the big game. 2 30-foot tents, 2 10-foot screens each. Full liquor and food service outside with 4 bars and 4 beer stations, plus a beer trailer. VIP area inside Ducky's. Fun Life promo team will be on site. Bet runs Friday night, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. Celebrity and athlete appearances all weekend long. Portion of proceeds to benefit the Mike Allstott Family Foundation and the Children's Cancer Center. Drink wiser and be safe. $5